Hi, McCurdy. Okay, so McTurdy and I just saw the number one ranked film of the year, and I only have one question for you, McCurds. Is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey better or worse than Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
It's better. Different
What?
type of movie though.
Better? How could it be better? How could that possibly be topped? The
Let me
Odyssey
give you
peaked in the 2000s, and that's it. It's over with.
let me give
Okay.
you the Scott
Wrong
answer.
answer there. What's better, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey or Super Mario Odyssey?
The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's.
That might be true. I don't know.
That's
Dude, check this out. Check this out.
cool.
That's a mug with your face on it,
Oh no.
and
Now I'm
you're
on
drinking.
merchandise.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Anyway, what's up, dude? We are pausing our own Space Odyssey to talk about The Odyssey. Just because,
Did you write these beforehand?
No, but I personally have been like in the Discord, the fellas keep asking, and I kept saying over and over, I'm not gonna, what do you think of this? I'm like, nothing. I have no response because even down to like people thinking that Elliot Page was Achilles, and then I was like, guys, what if it turns out that she's not Achilles, and then she's not Achilles? So I was like, I'm not going to pass judgment until I see the movie. But now I've seen the movie, so now I'm full of judgment.
Now you can pass judgment.
Yes,
now
exactly. So now
I can hear you. I can hear myself in your background.
Oh, I got to turn my speakers up. There we go. Now you should be good. Which, by the way, anybody watching, just as usual, it's like always trying to dust off the cobwebs on the audio situation. So let me know if I'm loud or McCurdy's loud or quiet or whatever, but we're just gonna go. Anyway, McCurdy, hello.
Hey, what's up?
You gonna tell me what you think of this movie?
Okay,
good.
Are you gonna tell me what you think of this movie?
Well, okay. Y'all have heard me say before that I hate Dunkirk. I hate Dunkirk so much that I cut it with Darkest Hour because it made sense to combine those two stories, and then it's like the perfect, like what I call it, Dunkirk, Darkest Hour. It couldn't be better having both the action taking place on the beach while cutting back to Winston Churchill while all the political stuff is going on. I hate Dunkirk mostly because Nolan, it's as if when Nolan realizes he doesn't really have a story, he's like a retention editor. He falls back on how do I prevent people from getting bored? I'll just cut all around the place. So Dunkirk, I can't stand because it's in an editing blender, and then it reaches such a level of jumping all over the timeline that people go, this is smart, right? Right? This is so confusing, but Nolan's a genius, so this must be really good, right? This is good, right? And I'm smart for thinking. I got that. I haven't felt that since Dunkirk until tonight, where I'm like, dude, can you just tell this story a little more linearly so it's not confusing as hell? But that's where we're at. We're back to now. The editing blender worked wonders in Oppenheimer. He's all over the place in that timeline. But you and I agreed 3 years ago. We said that we covered Oppenheimer, and both of us came out of that like, this is Nolan's masterpiece, and this is going to sweep the Oscars. We were correct about that. Now here we are 3 years later, and I'm like, the editing blender is back in a bad way. And so it's not the worst, but it's also just not the greatest way of telling this story because it's already confusing enough. So I'll start there. But I have a lot more to say, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I overall liked the movie. I thought it was good. Like, that was my takeaway. The blending of the stories didn't really bother me because he's just known for doing that. Like, as the number of movies I've seen, he does it to good. Like, I think to what you're saying with Dunkirk, when I saw Dunkirk, it didn't bother me. But like when you see some of his other films, like Tenet was one that I was a little more annoyed with as far as the edit. Like that movie, I was like,
one of his movies I haven't seen.
I couldn't really get behind. Couldn't get behind it in Tenet. But I think with this, my only caveat to what you're saying is like I actually was thinking more about this because I've seen it twice now.
I've just seen
yeah, I know, and I know, and I saw it in
Dolby, but they don't know
in IMAX. You saw it at a very beautiful, clean Regal, that
Yeah.
has not that is very up to date and very state of the
And
art.
doesn't smell like urine.
And
Definitely
doesn't
doesn't
smell
smell
like
like
urine.
urine throughout the whole
No way.
building. Yeah.
Absolutely not. So anyway, I've seen it in Dolby and
That
I've
that
seen it in
that
IMAX.
sensation of going from popcorn butter smell to urine like on the walk to the auditorium. Yeah, yeah. So, but okay, my overall point though
Well, I hadn't
is
finished
coming out
because
of
you hold on. I
okay, go
didn't
ahead,
come
go
out.
ahead,
I didn't
go ahead,
finish. I didn't
go ahead,
finish.
go ahead,
But
go
what
ahead,
I
sir.
was getting at with what were you? Yeah, what I was getting at with the editing for this film in particular, and I took note of it as I was watching it because I was thinking about like how is he cutting the story together? Because in my mind, the thing that you don't like, I think what he's really doing is trying to get to a point where it's like, and maybe this is what you're describing, but it's like, oh, we're here, we're here, we're here. Okay, let's cut to something else so we can like keep this story interesting. So we can cutting back. And
Retention
I felt like,
editing.
and I knew that, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I knew though going into this
It in
movie,
this case,
thinking
it is
about
for me.
thinking about the story overall, I was like, oh yeah, I can see Christopher Nolan doing this. Because once I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. The story is about Odysseus's journey back home from Troy. At the same time, it's also the story of his son dealing with the suitors and his wife as well. And those
Mm,
stories kind of intersect, right? So as I'm
yeah.
watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, like I knew kind of going in, I'm like, oh, I see how he's going to kind of utilize that. The thing I did take note of this time though was that a lot of the times when you're cutting back to things, he'll utilize an idea where, and I think he's done this since like a Memento in a way where his characters are actually narrating or they're telling their own story to somebody else. And I thought that was in a weird, like maybe I'm overanalyzing, maybe it's my headcanon, but I'm thinking like, okay, so he's using a character to tell the story of something else to another character, which is basically the audience. And then at times we're cutting out from that to something else, realizing now that we're actually hearing the story from another character talking to another character. And me overanalyzing the movie, I'm thinking, and Mr. Charlie over here, who loves stories, guys, loves story. This guy, he loves stories. Okay, knowing that he loves stories so much, I thought, okay, is it is it me or is it maybe it's me? Maybe I'm overanalyzing, but maybe it's me going like, what if Nolan's trying to use that type of story editing, or that's where he's going from. Okay, a character because people told stories back in those days, so we're using a lot of narrative in this film as far as like a character narrating what's going on in the story. So I liked the movie. I maybe for me, it's like on an achievement level, I think it is his best movie and on achievement level. But and I say that for everything that they put to do this movie. You're like, holy crap, this is crazy. But I'm not 100% sure it's like his best. Like there's there are I had my own nitpicks in the movie, but they weren't the same nitpicks that you had, I guess.
I certainly wouldn't say it's bad, and it's not as bad as Dunkirk, but it could easily, if I was to flash rank the whole filmography, it'd be pretty close to Dunkirk. That's not to say it's awful. It's still a Nolan movie, but my point with Nolan and the editing is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And he started doing this. He's always used editing to like that's his main thing is like messing with the timeline and kind of jumping all over the place and multiple layers and levels of the story. And that's all well and good. But now he's like a one trick pony. When he does it in a negative way, he becomes a one trick pony to me where it's frustrating because it's as if he feels obligated to do it. So he's always done it, but I just remember specifically it's like he did it with The Dark Knight where it's The Dark Knight isn't jumping around the timeline, forward and back in time. It's jumping from place to place to build up this tension and then this huge explosion, and that's great. But then when he does it in Dunkirk and he's going back and forth in time, it's making it confusing as if on purpose. That's where I go. He's making it confusing to make it seem smart when it's just confusing. And then here it's kind of that same thing where let me use Interstellar as an example of something that bugged me about Interstellar is it's this amazing movie and it's this space odyssey, his space odyssey that's going on, and yet he feels compelled to. It's fine to have something happen, and then classic cinema would be to have something happen and then cut home. and then cut back to space and then cut home. But I largely would prefer to stay in one place for a while so that you feel the living on this, like, coming back to the Odyssey, you feel the time of spending a lot of time here with the men, and then here with the men, and maybe for like 30 minutes at least you're with the men, so you feel that time. But it's like Nolan feels the need to jump around everywhere. But then, and so to your point, I mean, and classic tellings of this tale would be jumping back and forth between him and his son and Penelope. And there's a purpose to that. You're building up what's going on at home while you're building up his return. And so that works. But when you're also jumping around in the fourth dimension, it's like, why are you complicating this? You're just making it more confusing, and not in a way that's, like, that's where I say it's like retention editing. It just becomes this cheap method of preventing people from pulling their phones out rather than focusing on the story. I'm not going to pull my phone out. Please cater to me and not the ADD crowd. So in Interstellar, it reaches that point where he's in the fourth dimensional library, and they keep cutting back to home because they're doing the Batman, or they're doing the Dark Knight thing, where it's like we gotta cut all around to build up to this tension, and then release, and it works in the Dark Knight brilliantly. That's why that movie is, obviously near the top of his films. But when he does it in Interstellar, it just takes you away from the more interesting thing going on, which is space. And then here it's doing it where it's like, it's like, the similar feeling I got in this movie was when he is with Calypso, and he remembers. She gives him the Athena pin, and he remembers. And we've been hopping back and forth between Calypso and everything else the whole movie. So when all of a sudden he has the revelation and the music swells and he remembers, I don't feel it because we've been flash editing all over the place, so that when he remembers, I'm like, I don't care, because we haven't been sitting on her island. Classical tellings would have the whole Calypso episode in a period of 20 to 30 minutes where there would actually be a little emotional payoff to that. But because we're moving around so quickly, it's less effective. And then that's when I go, he put it in the editing blender to make it seem more interesting than it actually is. And so I like his editing is terrific in following Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins, Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises. But then in Interstellar, it's forced. In Dunkirk, it's god-awful. I haven't seen Tenet. In Oppenheimer, it comes back to being amazing. It fits that story perfectly. But then in the Odyssey, once again, I'm like, can you go back to linear for this? Well, I wouldn't want people to get bored. It's like, screw those people. I don't care about those people. So he can be a one-trick pony, and that's what annoys me. Even down like the open, you're watching a Nolan movie when it's like, a shot of waves on the beach, and then a shadow, and then, like, he likes to open the movie the same way he closes the movie, and that can be really nice. But I wasn't feeling it all that much here. Maybe kind of like the bookend he did here was with his wife, and him and his wife going west, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. But that was like, that was interesting. That was like a cool bookend.
Actually, one of the things that, hold on, I take it back. The last shot of the movie is actually the Trojan horse burning. Well, so that's getting at what I was about to bring up. Something that completely took me by surprise was how it's so. Okay, so let me get into another crossover thing, right, between Dunkirk and this movie, is that Nolan can't just tell you the story. He's got to do his thing. So what do you do with Dunkirk? He's like, the straightforward story is one of the coolest stories coming out of warfare in general, but certainly World War II. It's like one of the coolest things ever. But I can't just tell that story.
I have to find I have to find something. I have to find a detail, a theme to hang everything on. So I just came off of all these Batman movies, and they're all about heroism, and I'm sick of that. So let's do a study of cowardice, right? Well, this is one of the most incredible stories ever. Can't you just like propagandize it and make it awesome? No, it's going to be about cowardice, and everything's about cowardice, and it's a study of cowardice. And this young boy who volunteered to go save all these lives, and then he gets he hits his head or whatever. Is he a hero? What is heroism? I'm like, just tell the story, but instead it's got to be super duper meaningful. There's already enough meaning, but no, I need to make it a study of cowardice. Over here, right at the end.
Charlie.
Hang on. Right at the end, he goes. He's speaking to his wife in disguise. And all of a sudden, the theme is revealed. And it was at one point the Odyssey of just man trying to return home and having to overcome all these obstacles. Suddenly, the theme, the Dunkirk-esque theme is, I feel really bad about the war. And the war is indicative of the fall of society, and I'm guilty. And then that's why the movie ends with the burning of the Trojan horse. It's like him, I'm going to go out west and honor my men. But also this movie, this whole time has been about guilt and the fall of society, which on one hand is cool because it's like there's hints at the fall of religion equals the fall of society, which obviously I'm going to like. I wrote a fucking book about that. But on the other side, it's like at the last second, Nolan can't help himself and be like, yeah, the whole time the movie was about Odysseus being guilty about winning the war. It's a little last minute.
Are you saying like that last shot and that last scene, that's when you felt it?
No, it's when he was confessing to Penelope his guilt for this dirty trick that won the war, and then trying to connect that to this idea of Zeus's law.
This is the thing I actually wrote in my notes about this movie was that, and that was something like I took a little bit more note on in the movie. So essentially, I think we've said spoilers, right? Right? We said that.
Nobody should watch our stuff without seeing the movie.
Nobody should watch our stuff.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
What did I write down here? I was writing stuff down about this movie. Did I?
But
so breaking the law through trickery. So they essentially set up the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto yourself.
It's like Christianity.
Title it. But
Zeus's law is basically Christianity.
People forget a lot of things. People don't remember that a lot of this New Testament takes place in Greece, which is this same realm. If you read the New Testament, especially in all the letters, there's mentions of Zeus and Apollo. These things are going around the same time Christianity is spreading out in that part of the world.
Yeah.
So anyway, what ADHD? What was I saying? Okay, so yes, we were talking about the golden rule, and there's that. Now, there's also another element to it where early in the movie to establish this idea, they talk about how every time that Odysseus strings his bow, he plucks it to let the deer know or let his prey know that, hey, I'm coming. And his servant asks him, like, why do you do that? Like, that's why. And he's like, oh, to fight with honor, because I don't believe that. But I do think that there's a little bit of it. What I thought was interesting. It's like, in one hand, I think he thinks that he's doing this one act as he's doing it with honor. And then on the other hand, he's like, well, we had to figure out, and he even says this at one point, he's like, I can't always do that. He's like, when he's talking about honoring the other men, he's like, I can't, that's not always a thing that happens. So in my mind, I'm thinking he's talking about how even you can't always fight with honor. So essentially he comes up with this really brilliant plan, which is the Trojan horse, and they go into the city and, let everybody out and whatnot. And for my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of like, he's done that. And so essentially he's trying to offer a peace offering, and you should do unto others as you would do unto yourself. And so he's actually breaking that. And then everything after that feels like it's this descent, essentially, where it's like because of that mistake, which is a lot of the rest of the movie anyway, because he does the stuff with the Cyclops and all this other stuff. So it's like this downhill thing with all of it. And then by the end of the movie, and even you see it at home when he's back at home, you see that the abuse of the golden rule is overused with all the suitors, and that they don't mean well for their actions and stuff like that. So you see kind of like he's saying that because of this, it is like it's almost like in his Nolan's mind, it's like the Trojan horse is the apple to like a
But it's
Christianity
it's
type
it,
thing, you know?
so that's the thing. I haven't researched it. I have no idea if Zeus's law is a thing, which basically is the like in any yeah, basically like let's say an old western movie, it would be the stranger comes to the door and he says, hi, I'm a fellow Christian. He's wearing a cross like you, and he's like, I'm a fellow Christian. And the people whose home he comes to, they go, yeah, you're a fellow Christian, we're Christians, come on in, we're going to feed you and house you and help you and then send you on your way. That's the Christian thing to do, right? um,
Yeah.
is like, I have no idea if Zeus's law is real or if it's made up for this or whatever, but it's not do unto others per se. It's more like if you invite somebody into your home, you're obligated to or rather, if you are invited into somebody's home, you're obligated to do right by them and not murder them, which is obviously falls underneath the golden rule, but it specifically has to do with entry. It's like if you are, because remember the blind guy at one point, he's
But
he
well,
invites
you're
those
missing. You're
guys
missing.
in,
Hold
and
on,
then
you're
they beat
missing
him
though.
up.
He says, yeah, you're missing the part where he says in the Zeus's law, he's saying you never like they say it back to each other. It's like you basically do unto others as someone would do unto you, and then they extend that by saying, why would you well
Did they say
then
that?
why do we need yeah they extend it to being saying something to like effect of like, well, why would I why do I need to do that, like that's just a stupid rule. And he says, well, you never know, there could be a god, and they lay that in there as far as like the like. And I think this is like a Christian idea as well, is that having God on earth, he disguised as a beggar or somebody poor, and that also kind of ties in with it. What's up, bud?
You got a visitor.
I have a Ron Weasley come to
Ron Weasley.
Ronald Weasley has
So,
come.
so
Hello.
that's the thing is that obviously I've seen this the one time, and I would like to watch it again with subtitles on because of the editing blender and the way that Nolan in all of his movies, he crams like 6 hours of movie into 2 or 3 hours, and so everything's very rapidly paced. Which is sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And like I'm saying with this movie, I definitely don't like it compared to had it been a little more linear. But those ideas are like, what I'm saying is, yes, there's moments throughout where it's like we should bury the bodies, and he's like, no, we don't have time, and then that's dishonoring his men, and then like that leads his men to mutiny. So there's like on the micro, it's when like let's say when religion fails a society, or when religion fails even just this small ship of men, kind of like Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, like when common decency fails in the micro, it rapidly fails in the macro, right? Like they're by the end of the movie, they're talking about the failure of all of society. Civilization itself is crumbling because people aren't respecting religious law anymore, and that religion essentially being like we're saying the golden rule, or if somebody lets you into your home, respect them. So then he's extending that to the Trojan horse. But like that's where it's kind of odd, where it's like, okay, I guess this soldier feels bad that the whole town, the whole city was graped and pillaged and all that. But is that like, I don't think that's ever been a part of the Odyssey ever, and that's where I mean, where it's like Nolan's like, my Odyssey is going to be about feeling real bad about. It's like, yeah, but he won the war. Wasn't the point of the war was to like sack the city, and then it's Odysseus has to walk around having won the war, but he walks around feeling bad about it. You know what I mean? It's like Nolan can't help himself but focus on. I can't just tell the Odyssey. I have to focus in on something that just makes it less grand. And that's what I accuse Dunkirk of. Dunkirk was just like a study of cowardice. What is a hero really? It's like, just tell the damn story. So here it's him doing the same thing, but it felt like maybe what I'm saying is maybe on a second viewing, I'll go, oh, here's more breadcrumbs. But it felt like all of a sudden right at the end, Odysseus is like, oh, by the way, I feel really bad about what I had to do to win that war. It's like, wait, so you're saying that somebody inviting you into their home and then you grape them and their family is the same thing as hiding in a horse and the horse being dragged into the city, I mean, mostly because of hubris, and then sacking the city. Like these are two different concepts, and yet we're trying to correlate them. We're trying to force them together. And I'm like, it doesn't exactly like of course I'm going to love the idea of a failure of religion and common decency leading to a failure of society and civilization itself. I'm going to love that. But when you're using the Trojan horse to do that, I'm like, it kind of doesn't, doesn't fit. So that's where I'm at.
I
Having
think
seen it
I
one
think
time.
where it's going from there. Hold on. I really don't think. I think those things fit a lot more than you. I think you're getting them to, because I mean the whole
How?
sacking the city. Listen, don't just be a little. Just listen.
How?
Just I think when you think
Sacking the
about
city is
so
the
the
same
chosen
thing as being invited into
okay, well
somebody's
it's fine.
home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it wasn't just the horse. I mean, that horse was supposed to be a peace offering. That's why they grabbed it. So they were
Well, they
like,
thought
yeah,
it
it's
was from the
supposed to be for a
gods.
peace offering. No,
They're
they're
like,
like,
it's
it's a
it's
peace
a gift from
offering.
Athena for winning or something.
Why
But
did they think it was from the gods? They were fighting a war and they
hasn't
left.
that
So they're
always
like,
been
here's
the
a peace
thing?
offering.
Isn't that even what
Mhm.
Elliot Page said? She was like, it's a
Yeah,
gift
but they
from
know.
Athena
Yeah, but
or
they
something.
know it's from. Yeah, but they know it's from the Spartans. So why wouldn't they just be like,
I
oh,
don't
okay?
think so.
Yeah, they
I
would
don't think
know because they
so.
would be like, I, why wouldn't they?
It has
You're not
always
picking up on that?
been. It's no, it's like pretty much always been like it's a gift from the gods for our winning or whatever, or maybe simultaneously it's a peace offering. But like
In my
that's
mind,
what
when
I
I'm
mean.
watching the movie, I'm thinking the horse is representative of the same thing as someone inviting someone home because you're giving a peace offering. And yet, when they thought
Yeah.
it was a peace offering and they put it in their temple, oops, fooled you. We're going to rape and pillage your entire city and basically burn
Yeah.
it to the ground. It's the thought that you get. I mean, I'm assuming that's exactly what happens. But to do that to somebody, it's like, oh, it's the smaller equivalent would be like, hey, I'm sorry, yada yada yada, and then just like stab somebody. I'm
Well,
having
okay,
these
okay.
random
So
arms,
let me underline what you're saying. That is the intention, and the intention right off the
and I think
bat
that
is the
fits.
guy
I
is
don't think
pounding the
that isn't
table,
fitting.
and the guy's like he's like a man
Can you go back?
and a war
Go
and a
upstairs.
trick. Like that's the emphasis. The emphasis is that it's a trick. The emphasis is there's this dirty trick that won the war. What I'm saying is it's not like from my memory, it's not like it's laid out throughout that it was like people like it's like people should be saying that Odysseus is not worthy of respect because he's a bad man for coming up with this dirty trick. Your dad was a dishonorable man because he didn't fight with honor or whatever. So like honor is throughout, but
Wait,
for me it
but
felt
throughout
like
the
at
whole
the
movie,
last
he's
second
going no. But
he's
if
saying he
you, I
felt
mean,
bad
going
about
throughout
it.
the whole movie, he's getting told by several people that are like, you dishonor the gods. You're going against the gods, and he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm gonna, when they're like, oh well, if you got to go through here, you got to go through here.
No, hang on,
He's
hang
just
on.
like, well, I'm gonna get
So
him. I'm gonna save them, and inevitably he can't by the
what do
end.
you mean? What do you mean he's going
So
against the gods though? Like
it's
what
set. I
parts
mean,
is that
the
happening?
gods are basically saying, "Hey, buddy," they're like the gods in the story are basically saying, "Hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you do X, Y, and Z,"
And
because
who's that?
he's already pissed off.
Which gods are we talking about? Because there's only like I could have used more like other iterations
I'm gonna
have
say I'm
more
saying the gods is
gods.
like I'm saying the gods as in quotes, like not a
Okay.
specific one. 'Cause I know we're talking about a
Okay.
pantheon, but
You're
in
talking about
this,
men talking about gods.
like because they're talking about the gods.
Yeah.
They talk like about the gods like it is a monotheist, but it's not a monotheist; it's polytheist.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So what
you
I'm
get
getting at is even something like in other iterations, they actually have the gods, personified deities
as yeah,
who
and
are
they didn't
talking
do
to
that in
them.
this movie.
And yeah, so Nolan definitely like ever since Batman, this is again where I'm like, he's like Mr. One Trick Pony, where he's like, I'm gonna do the Odyssey, but it's gonna be dark, stark, and realistic. We're gonna get rid of and like some of the calls are good, of course. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but it's like Athena might as well not have been in the movie at all. I get that there's a payoff with the like her getting raped and decapitated in the end, but I it's like if you're gonna cut out the gods that much, cut them out entirely. Because what's the point of having Athena there? I would rather there have been more Athena there too. Because like her conversing with him in other iterations, those instances of deep conversations between Odysseus and Athena could have
Are
been
you sure
used
that when
to
he's talking
better
to
lay
Athena,
out this theme, huh?
when he's talking to Athena, like, are you sure? Are you looking at it into it as he's actually talking to the gods, or is he trying to communicate with Penelope, and is this his like image, like this is in his mind? Because we never see any other gods besides Athena anyway. So my
So you're
thought
saying
with the
it's like the
whole like
pin?
use of Athena, yeah, because there were some other things I wanted to talk about more about how this movie relates to some of his other films. But like one of those things I was going to talk about was how this movie has some relation to Inception, because it seems like he loves to use the totems, like the basically having these objects with symbols in them.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it's like we have a couple of those. We have the pin, we have the ring, and then we also have, I don't know, I want to call it a straw. I don't know what it's called, the little cylinder that
It
he
was
gets from.
didn't
I
they
don't know
say
what the
it
name of
was
it
the
was.
lots from like drawing lots? It
Yeah, it
was
was the
the
lots,
lot.
but it was
Yeah.
like I don't know if they had a specific name, but we have a lot
Yeah.
of totems and items with symbols behind them, right? And in my mind, I always thought, well, he has this Athena like thing with him a lot, and so I was always wondering if that was like connected, like is he talking to it? Are because he has it with him, is who in his mind he's communicating with? But again, like there's that moment with
Maybe.
Calypso where he doesn't have it, so I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. So, like, what is Calypso then, and what is this witch? You know, it's not like it's not. It'd be one thing if Nolan was like, I'm going to strip out, and not in like an atheistic way, but Nolan's like, I'm going to strip out the supernatural stuff. Like, as an example, other iterations would have like Poseidon talking, but he's talking by way of the waves crashing, and you see the kind of like the mummy. Remember in the mummy when he was in the sand, when the mummy's in the
Yeah,
sand and the face and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They did the same thing with Poseidon, and or they'd have Hermes flying around. Like there's actual interaction with the gods. It'd be one thing if he stripped out all supernatural stuff, but like that stuff is still there. They even say that. You know, whether it's true or not in this instance, who knows? But the Cyclops is Poseidon's son.
Yeah.
Like basically before it was like punishing punishing him, punishing. I keep wanting to say Ulysses, but punishing Odysseus for like his pride, basically his boastfulness, you know, his hubris, and then now it's like because of it's highlighting like a failure of. I'm just going to say Christian. Like Zeus is just a stand-in for like a failure of religion, a failure of the golden rule,
Yeah.
whatever leads to societal collapse. That's terrific. I am curious if I watch it again, if I go, oh, that's actually a lot more laid out than I thought. But it seemed pretty straightforward, normal Odyssey stuff with gods and cyclopses and Circe the witch and like Calypso. Like what even is Calypso? Like for all we know from this
I mean,
movie,
she's some
she's
kind
just a
of
woman on a
demigod in
beach.
the story, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
but like in this, it's like what is she? I don't
I
know.
think Nolan. There's a couple things. Nolan is kind of a minimalist in a lot of his movies. I mean, you can see it in the set design in this film, and you can see it in his designs for robots and what have you. But there's a very like clean, minimalist look to a lot of his movies. I know this isn't a period piece, but like a lot of times he'll do his modern action films. You know, every character has to have a very nice, suave, tight.
Oh no.
Uh, they don't know anything about that.
I don't know how tight happened, and nobody knows what we're talking about. But
they don't
like,
have no idea what they're talking about.
I still, I'm editing that episode. I'm like, where did tight come from? I have no idea where it came from.
I don't know. We were having a good time. What was I saying? Anyway, like you know, he has all that, but even in this movie, you see a lot of he strips down things to not over exaggerate. So like even when it comes to like magic or any kind of magic in this movie and any kind of supernatural things are almost shown to a minimum, and that includes Cyclops you see in the movie, but we're not like it's not. I don't think it's overdone. But when we do see like Cyclops with the humans, you're looking more at their panic than anything else. What were you gonna say, Char?
Dude, I couldn't agree more. If I love Nolan for something, like as much as I'm like this movie's I'm like underwhelmed. I feel like I felt like when I saw Dune and I was like I should love this. I should be head over heels in love with this. Maybe I will upon more viewings. But if I love him for anything for this, it's that he continues to be my favorite director so far as usage of CGI. He is, as I'm always preaching, I'm like, CGI should be shaded, shadowed, put in the background. It shouldn't be front and center. It should be hidden a little bit, and you it's a win-win when you do that. A, you don't show your cruddy CGI that breaks the immersion and the illusion, but also it adds that like Jaws-esque seeing less of the monster is more feeling, right? So it's like when Cyclops is coming after them, he's largely just like a blur in the background, and it makes it scarier.
Yeah.
I love how Nolan continues to insist on not just being overly reliant on CGI, but using it artistically to increase the emotionality of any given situation. So the Cyclops is the best part of the movie. The other best part of there's like three standouts. There's the Cyclops whole set piece. There's Cersei, where they're using practical, freaky effects to turn men into pigs.
Where they're doing because the pigs and stuff, it just feels like it's like, well, how are you? It's like, okay, they're gonna turn into pigs, great. How are they doing that? Are we gonna see a transformation, like a very like we're
like
seeing
just
almost like
CGI,
a medium, just like we see it?
Yeah.
No, it's weird, crazy close ups.
And
as I'm watching, I went back
and grotesque
and I went back and watched
cracking
it, and there's stuff in there where I'm like, that's definitely practical. That doesn't seem
real,
like
yes.
Because as much as you look at it, you're like, how is that practical? It's like there's just the actress stroking the prosthetic on the guy's face, and then just like pushing around. They may have enhanced it with some CGI, but you can't, like, I couldn't tell if they did or not. So it looked really
clearly,
good.
like,
but
if you walked into,
it's all about the emotion and not so much about like, oh, we saw this thing happen. It's like, how do we feel? It's like, oh, it's intense, it's gross. We're really close in there, you know.
Well, you feel how much she hates them. Like she's doing that thing where she's like, all men are pigs, and like there's an argument to be made that all men are pigs, and that goes back to, again, I someday I'll do a breakdown of this where I can apply the philosophy of my book, where it's like, you can connect the idea of the failure of a religion to the idea of she sees these men as pigs, as animals, and she turns them into animals because she believes that all men are animals for whatever happened to her in her past. But newsflash, we are all animals, and so when you behave like animals, we talked about this to an insane degree in the Monster series about, werewolves and vampires. Why is it they turn into animals? Because it's representative of this idea that when society breaks down, it breaks down because people behave like animals. So I think there's brilliance to be had there. But as far as the magic of the practical effects goes, guaranteed you'd walk into their prop department and you'd have like half pig masks with like a no snout and then a big snout. You know what I mean?
They're pressing.
It's like the thing.
Probably one or two actual like CGI things, because part of me was also watching like, dude, they reverse the footage of him eating, or is that just him 100%? Eating? I was a little confused by that.
They were reversing it, so it was like coming off the bowl into their mouths. It was like going. It was like the food was going.
It was like going
flying into their mouths. Yeah.
That whole sequence.
Amazing.
Spartan, the whole Spartan sequence of them bringing the horse and all that stuff. That's great.
But my third, can you guess my third? Can you guess my third? Like standout.
It's not the last scene in the movie.
No, it was the shortest. I mean, the last scene's fine. It's fine. But the wait, what do you mean last scene? The very, very last, or the showdown?
The third act, climax, showdown.
I
that's for me my biggest nitpick. I think
I've been more impressed. So it's not that. We'll get to that. Cyclops, best Cyclops sequence ever. The pigs, and then my third was the shortest of all of them. Can you guess? I just love the sirens. I love the concept of the sirens.
Oh, that was
warning of the sirens. And so, and it like that scene almost didn't need to be. It was so brief. It's like it didn't need to be there. But I love it.
Stood out.
I love the meaning behind the sirens.
The one thing for me, and a technical thing that I really enjoyed, and I hope I imagine this film will get some kind of nomination or Oscar for sound. But like, I love the moment when his second in command, it's like he's putting the wax in and he's like watching him. And if you're in the audience, you're hearing like the soundtrack goes out on one end
goes
and then
out
it goes
here,
out on the other end,
and
and
it
it's
goes
just
out
the
there.
music.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then
And
it's
and then it
it's Matt
leads into that kind
Damon
of haunting theme.
like Matt. It was so weird because Matt Damon's like. He's like excited. He's like, guys, this is going to be awesome. They're like, this is a horrible idea. He's like, I know. That's why it's such a good idea. It was odd. It was like, I can't even like, okay, I haven't studied the Odyssey since middle school, high school. I haven't read
Yeah.
it since then. I took Latin. I took Latin specifically because all I cared about was Greek and Roman mythology. And then as soon as we stopped studying that and we only studied the language, that's when I quit because I was like, I'm only here because I care about the stories, like that's and the culture. That's why I'm here. But so I don't remember why he had to do that, but it seemed in this case that it was like purely it was like for fun. It was like it was like why what is they're like, sir, what's the point of doing this? He's like, I don't know, it seems like a good idea for no reason. You know, it seems like it might be fun just to do it, just to say I did it. But regardless of that, the effect was like and now that I think about it, I don't know, like I get the temptation to pull the wax out on the point of the guy who jumped in the water, but something like that, you know, that's where you would almost expect it to like get knocked out, like he accidentally the wax falls out, and then at that point it's like being in a gas attack and your gas mask falls off, and then it you know, you didn't do it on purpose, but now you're in danger, and then he jumps off the ship. But they never cut to what happened to him. I found that kind of interesting because
That was
you know,
it was a weird choice considering this movie's an R-rated film and it's like a very light R because like
yeah,
it's mostly it's some violence, but sometimes it's not like. And Nolan
there's
has
like
never really
three
been
F
the kind of.
bombs, three F bombs in the
There's
whole
that.
thing.
There's that.
Yeah,
Yeah. But then there's like, I mean, there's violence and there's bloodshed, but it's like he's very much always been somebody who just like gives a little bit, but not too much. And most, if you
yeah.
watch all of the Dark Knight Rises, you know, or Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, you never see blood. We never really see the
Yeah.
wounds usually. I'm pretty sure like most
Batman
fights
had
are
to
very
be PG
cowboy.
13 for
Yeah,
box
it's like
office. It had to be PG 13.
it's a very cowboy-esque movie, whatever,
Yeah.
Western movie. And then that's kind of the same for here. Like there's a little bit of that going on, but I mean it is a little more brutal. We see like, you know, throats slashed
Yeah.
and things like that and people getting stabbed. But
So you would expect maybe a little, like maybe the siren, like the sirens.
like what you
I'm,
would
I'm looking. I'm
see.
like, are they
But
naked?
it adds
Are they
more to the
naked? They have to be
mystery, you
naked,
know?
but they
I think
weren't. They were so far away. Like I expected another shot that made just a little boobage because it's got to be tempting.
Yeah.
Sirens are meant to be tempting.
I think
like that's the point.
The whole
You know,
song and all of that was more interesting than because it did leave a little mystery as to like we never see what happens. We never see them on because when I was watching it, like I went and saw it on IMAX and I watched it the second time. And I was like, are those their legs? Are they like supposed to be like fins? Like if you look carefully, I'm like, I don't know if that's what I'm seeing, or like you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm seeing.
Are they mermaids or are they
something
just
like
hot
that.
chicks? What are they? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
talking about
that is
what
one
they're
of the highlights
singing is
of the movie.
yeah, like it was cool. Obviously, like had we heard what they were singing to him specifically, maybe that like it talked about failure. So now having seen the whole movie, are they singing about like how he should feel guilty for the graping of all of Troy and all that? You know what I mean? Like maybe that would be a little more. That's what I mean. Where that'd be one of those things that would be a little more clear for me. And everything I'm saying tonight is based on a singular watch through, no second coding here. So you know, are they singing to him about his guilt? Probably. You know, looking back.
Can I interject?
More
again?
of that would have been
Can I interject? Because the more we keep talking, we keep hiding these, and I keep wanting to talk more and more about them as we're talking about them. But this movie to me had a lot more. Not hiding. I'm trying to get to them, and we're talking story points. We're talking about how I was talking about earlier how a lot of this movie feels very similar to a lot of his other movies. I talked a little bit about Inception there for a second. But you see it in other parts of this film as well. Like you see, so with Inception, the other one I wrote down, Odysseus with Calypso mirroring, and he's talking about like, I've been here for how long? 7 years. It does kind of remind me a lot of Inception where, you know, he talks about getting trapped with his wife there. But the other movie that I thought this reminds me more of this movie than a lot of his other filmography was The Dark Knight Rises, which was such a weird, like,
why is this movie reminding me of The Dark Knight
There was
Rises as
one
I'm watching the
moment.
film?
I had one
There's several
fleeting
moments.
moment of it, but tell me what you're talking
So
about.
there's several. So here's the ones I wrote, right? So much of the end of the movie is Bruce coming home. It's a lot plays out very similarly to how Bruce gets back to Gotham, with Odysseus getting back to Ithaca. And I say that in that, like, they're in hiding and he's like not wanting people know that he's back, but he is back, kind of thing. So there was a little bit of that. So as I'm watching the movie, I'm feeling, okay, so Nolan's kind of being like, yeah, Odysseus is essentially Batman.
He heard all those complaints about, how did Bruce Wayne leave the pit thing? How did he get back to America in the first place? And he's like, oh, you want a whole Odyssey movie? You want to like quadruple the runtime of The Dark Knight Rises of a whole Odyssey?
I'll do it.
Yeah.
So then there's that. There's that part. We also have a successor figure, which is, we have Tom Holland. We had Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Robin character, and then in this movie we have Tom Holland, basically. And they're kind of like this. There's moments, especially when they first meet up, that you're like, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that Dark Knight Rises energy, where it's like Batman's with whatever the lieutenant's, whatever his name is, and they're like, he's like trying to tell him what he needs to do next. I'm like, yep, I'm definitely feeling those vibes in this part of the movie. Another one that was more of a visual thing was, maybe I just have not noticed this in his other films. He likes to put barriers between Anne Hathaway and other characters for some reason. Like when she's, how when Penelope is behind the doors and it's like
it's as if she's in mourning.
Right. So it's like she's covered.
She's in mourning.
But there's another movie, in Dark Knight Rises, same actress, when she like portrays Bruce Wayne, Batman, and he goes into the lair and she shuts the door on him, and he's like, what did you do that? They're having a back and forth, whatever.
Like, and you're cuter when you can't see you. You're getting old.
But like
we
when
gotta
he shuts
put
the
you
door,
behind
that
stuff.
scene, I was like watching that. I'm like, yeah, that's, and I think it's just, I wouldn't have caught it if it wasn't for her, Anne Hathaway. But you're watching it, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the same shot, the other one, the other two.
Go ahead.
The other two
you're probably gonna hit the one I'm
more.
thinking. You're probably gonna hit the one. Go ahead.
The last one, maybe.
Wait, let me go. Let me go then. Let me go. So and then you can tell me. No. You can tell me if this is on your list. He lays an old blind man down in the corner to have a conversation with other people, while the old blind man in the laying down is just like being wise or whatever. Remember the guy I'm talking about in Dark Knight Rises?
I know.
Who just like lays there and he's blind and he's just like,
because he's,
and he just
yeah. He's like,
that guy.
What part of the movie? I know
in Rises.
Dark Knight Rises.
In Rises?
I know you're talking about in Rises. What about in Odysseus? Like what? Part
in Odysseus, what's his name again? What's the guy who played the old blind man? What's his name again? Not John Lithgow. What's his name again? You would know this. No, I try to forget actor names. I don't like filling my brain with useless crap. But
there's a lot of actors in this movie.
But the guy who's played Sid the Sloth. John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo was the old blind man.
I think of him as Luigi from Mario. So.
He was way back. Okay, yeah. But he was old blind man, like laying down in the corner, spouting off wisdom, and then old blind guy. And that was the only time where I was like Dark Knight Rises popped in my head.
Dark Knight Rises. Okay, the other two that I had, but that's a good one that I did not catch. The what if speech, just watch go back to when he's telling Penelope, talking to her about like, what if that whole speech.
Wait, sorry. I have to interrupt. What is going on in your basement right now? What is making that sound? What is on?
I have children upstairs.
No. It sounds like there's gas. Like the Well Actuallys have released the gas. Is there released the gas. Something?
No, it's just my kids are probably taking a bath right now. It's the water.
Oh, it's the water. Okay. Because the episode I'm editing right now, occasionally it sounds like somebody's filling up air balloons. I'm like, why is somebody filling up air balloons next to McCurdy? So I'm like denoising all your stuff because I'm like, it's like,
yeah.
Anyway. Mystery solved.
Anyway, where was I?
Don't let the kids pee when we're working.
Speech. the what if speech. You remember the what if speech is when he's
No,
talking to
what is this?
Penelope and she's in the Odyssey. It's when Odysseus is pretending to be the blind guy and he's sitting by the gates, the door gates, and he's having his speech and we're cutting back and forth and all that stuff. And I'm watching that scene. I'm like, is it me or did Nolan do something similar dialogue wise in The Dark Knight Rises when he's like, what if, because he keeps saying like, what if blah 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 blah, what if I wasn't meant to do this in the city, and that's what he's saying to Odysseus. But then I'm remembering, like, was that the same kind of dialogue he was using in The Dark Knight Rises when Alfred's like, what if we live in a time when we don't need the truth, what if, and I'm like watching that scene, I'm like, he wrote kind of a similar speech, or it felt like he just copy and paste.
To spare you pain, I
decided I burnt the letter. Exactly.
I didn't.
The other one, the last one. I didn't
get that, but
Okay, the last one
go
is the fighting. The fighting in this movie.
Okay, let's talk about the fighting
of Dark Knight Rises and
let's talk about the fighting.
The Dark Knight. What about it?
So the most recent, obviously, if anybody has seen it, that's what I've been talking about tonight. Because all the iterations of the story I've seen, the latest would have been, I watched maybe a few months ago, the late 90s. It was like a made-for-TV 2-part series, and what was so impressive about that one, to where I was like, "Damn, this is good," is that as soon as he strings the bow and makes the shot through the axes, he and his son kind of they go over to the throne, and they make quick work of everybody, right? They make quick work, and it's more impressive. And I was looking forward to the showdown, because of course you're looking forward to the showdown. That's what the whole story is about. And it's such a funny story too, because it's like these guys are there just there eating their food and drinking everything for again, that's part of the theme of like disrespecting somebody's household. But it's so funny. It's like hundreds of guys just like sitting around waiting to doink one cat, and so it's
you're saying like it's a one-man army. Yeah, it becomes a one-man army situation.
Well,
but my only take, here was my thought on that, because I did think about that set going in the second time. I'm like, wait, he's got to fight. In the book, it's like 120 something suitors or whatever. I don't remember what it was. Something like that in the poem.
Yeah,
it's like a ridiculous amount. Here, it's like maybe 30 guys, maybe more than that. I don't know.
Here it's 30. No, it's like the reverse. It felt like thousands. It felt like an army. It felt like James Bond taking on.
Well, it was like a one-man
guys.
Army. Wait, I'm talking about the guys
Carver's
that were
ship.
on the set. This empty set that's like how Nolan likes. I want it clean. I don't want a bunch of extra shit. Just make it clean.
I'm like basic. What I was getting at is
but
that
the fight
hang on
was
though.
like,
The other iteration. I'll be brief. The one I'm talking about is. The actual cleaning up of all these guys is maybe 90 seconds tops, and it's like a school shooting. It's just like, and it's just boom, 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 boom. Him and his son just basically just shoot everybody before they can react, and it to the point where you go, that was badass. Here it reached a level of absurdity where it was like, I get that he's trying to be ultra realistic about him beating up all these guys, but it got comical at one point. It got awkward the way it was staged, with like having to go get the weapons and break through the ceiling and drop the weapons. Versus it ended up being, it felt like 20 minutes of fighting where I was like expecting it to be done quickly and badassly, and it ended up dragging it out to where I was like, I'm not liking this. Wrap it up. I'm not liking this.
This was the part of the movie that I was not. That was like the one moment for the whole entire movie that I was like, I don't like. This is my major nitpick with. Yeah, like the nitpick was more like, and then I had to think about it more. I'm like, okay, is Nolan saying he's able to fight all these guys because they're cowards, which is kind of what he gets across in the movie? Because most of the movie,
get the shields.
Because you got to remember, these guys are like. Yeah, but you got to remember, these guys are like, they didn't go to war. Most of everybody who had gone to war was gone. So the idea is like, these guys never went to war. They just stayed on Ithaca and drank.
Yeah, they're the 4F losers. Yeah.
So they're like, it's like, oh yeah, let's put you in a situation where you have to fight an actual like, a general or a some
seasoned
dude who's
veteran.
a seasoned veteran or a SEAL, like, oh, let's put you in a room with put a bunch of business people in a room with a Navy SEAL and be like, you guys have to fight the Navy SEAL. Like, I think that's the idea that they want out of this.
Yes.
But
it was
there's
the
a part of
moment,
me
though.
that I'm like,
the moment of when Matt Damon picked up the axes and started spinning them around in a circle. That's when I was like, oh no, I was like, this is John Wick and everybody's coming at him one at a time. And in John Wick, it has style, but this didn't really have the John Wick trademarked style.
Yeah.
It more just became awkward. And I was like, stop it. Like, stop. No. This like Batman would have style, and Batman would be using gadgets, and
they would
do
be
cool
going
things
around the room a little bit more.
Yeah,
but I wonder
and
if
using theatricality and deception.
They were limited with the IMAX camera, maybe, and they were like, "Well, we can't do all the cool, crazy moves we were able to do in The Dark Knight and Batman Begins."
I would hate if that was
why.
I would hate if that was why. It's like The Hobbit. We can't do cool stuff anymore because we have 3D cameras. It's like, okay, just don't do 3D then. Do the cool stuff. Do the cool stuff. Don't do 3D if it stops you from being awesome. Don't do IMAX if it stops you from being awesome. So it was so prolonged that I started to panic. And then by the end, like, he has like a sword flopping out of him in like an awkward way, and
he's got
some wounds,
arrows
cool,
and other things.
Yeah,
he's got
that's cool, but like
and all this stuff in him.
Yeah. So,
it is the silly. It is probably the moment where the movies gets a little silly, and you're like, and then there's the moment that the whole swords thing that you just said a second ago. The swords, get the swords, get the shields, get the shields. You're like, how is this not a memeable thing? Like,
totally.
It felt a very absurd why Nolan decided, let's throw that in. Like,
you said, it's probably to highlight cowardice. It's probably to be like Robert Pattinson is
how he's the dude's big coward.
But it was funny. It shouldn't be funny. It should be badass and a little more brief. But no, Tom Holland's got to go upstairs and fight a guy.
I want to see more movies.
And like, that guy's trying to
as the bad guy, though. I really
agree.
I
totally agree.
I think he's a great villain in this. I really do like.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Great. Yeah. And then I liked, but I liked what was the scene, the line before that, the one leading into this whole scene where he's like, "Can we get these beggars out of here?"
Yeah,
it's been mean. I don't know if you know this. It's been mean to death now.
Really?
It's awesome. Because I go to AMC. There's one that's like when I'm in, because when you're in, it said something like, when you're an AMC A-lister and you walk past people in the AMC A-lister line, and then under it says, "Can we get these beggars out of here?"
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's like, for me, it was a give and take. It's like, he was silly. It's maybe takes you out of the movie a little bit. You're like, this is a little corny, but at the same time, you're like, I kind of like his performance because he's really good.
So I just watched, and someday I'm serious. We should knock it out in a weekend. I watched all 5 Twilight movies. Like last month, I watched them all. There's 5? There's 5 because they broke the last. They did. Remember how there was that trend
I thought they broke the last
book into 2?
I thought no, I thought it was 3 movies. I thought there was 3 books. Maybe there's 4 books. Maybe you are right.
It's 4 books. It's 4 books.
Does anybody know the books? I don't know. I know there's Twilight and New Moon.
Dude, I saw. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm certainly not saying I'm a fan. I
have watched all of them.
I would ironically say, like, I love vampire stories. These are great to watch with your girl. Like, that's the way to get, like, because they eat it up. But but at the same time, it's so lame. But it's not. It's like, it's not the worst thing in the world. And what I'm getting at, though, is Robert Pattinson. Like, you can tell he's a good actor trapped in hell. Like, you can tell that he kind of hates it, but you can tell he's talented. And that he actually is trying to put something into it, but then also at some point seems a little cynical. But I've always appreciated him. Like, I've always thought that he's was he in Tenet?
Yes, he is in Tenet.
Okay.
That was the first thing he did.
That's
with
the only one,
Nolan.
Right? That's the only thing, right? Up until now, right? Yeah, I wonder why it wasn't in Oppenheimer, but he's he's good.
Cillian Murphy wasn't in this movie, which I thought was strange. I thought about it. I was like, wait, Cillian Murphy's not in this. And
I think he might be too big after being the lead man. I don't know. What would
but
it take?
I kind of get it because I'm like Nolan doesn't like to repeat his lead actor that much. He has done it because he did it with Prestige and Dark Knight and Batman Begins. But he usually in that movie
but McGrady, can we rank Twilight sometime? Can we rank Twilight someday?
Twilight? I mean,
over the course of October,
if you don't tell, I won't tell.
Totally. It's and it's I would never watch them on my own. I would never say I'm a fan. But I find them fascinating. I find those movies fascinating.
I hate how the story of the Twilight story. Like I remember when I watched them like in college with my wife before, we were still dating.
Yeah.
And the one thing
I saw all 5 of them in theaters.
Yeah.
All 5.
God,
Don't ask me why.
Nope, couldn't do that. I think the thing that I think was interesting is that all of the weird backstories for all the characters, even the side characters, was way more interesting, and I wanted to like watch those movies versus the main story with with Belle and all them, because there was you had one that was a Confederate general or a colonel who had turned into a vampire. There was the whole you had this whole vampire royalty thing, which I was like, that's fucking weird.
a vampire Vatican. Like they have a vampire Vatican.
There was that. That was weird.
The one there's the chick was brutally raped by a whole bunch of guys, and then as she lay dying, their master vampire dude turned her, and then she went on a revenge killing spree to take out all the rapists and everything. That's where I'm sitting there watching it with an expert, and I'm driving her nuts, asking a million questions, and then making fun of how
the roles are reversed. It's a total reversal for you.
Totally. And then it's like watching The Bachelor with Bella and the guys. It's as corny as The Bachelor, and it's like I have, as you guys probably are aware, I have a million sisters, and they would force me to watch The Bachelor. I'd be like, if you're gonna do this to me, go get me a glass of pink wine. Fill up a glass this big of pink wine, and I'll go into girl mode with you. Do the same thing with Twilight, and I talk about how ridiculous it is that it even exists, because it's like they spend 35 minutes on a wedding, and it's like the most perfect wedding ever. It's like this could only happen to sell to teeny boppers over a weekend. And it's so dumb and ridiculous that I just have a million questions as it's happening. I'm like, it's insane. And even down to having sex with a vampire in that story is like having sex with Superman. It's like having sex with a golem. It's like it's the weirdest thing. It's so weird. Anyway,
really
next October, October, we're gonna rank Twilight. Back to Robert Pattinson. He's a good actor. Robert Pattinson is another one of these guys who came up as flavor of the week.
Villain.
Totally. He came up as he managed to break free of just being a cute guy, right?
He was doing
the Brad Pitts of the world,
Because he did he did a Safdie brother movie before what was the other one, the other big one, before Uncut Gems, before Safdie's really people started really noticing them. So he was in that. I mean, he was doing some other. I remember that turn though. I remember they had finished all those movies, and then we hadn't heard about Pattinson for a while, and then all of a sudden he's trying to get in all of these other films because he's like, I don't want to be known as the Twilight guy for the rest of my life.
He probably saved his money, dude. He saved his money. I guarantee.
He got out. He's people don't think of him as that anymore. He's just this other actor entirely, which is awesome. And he plays such a good bad guy. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Charlie, I guess you just didn't like the movie, but honestly, I've seen every movie this year. Most of the big
Nolan
ones.
watches chick flicks because he was like, get me that Heath Ledger guy from that chick flick. 10 things I've fucking hate about you, and then and then he's watching.
Why does
Twilight.
he sound like Michael Caine though?
Well, that's why he got Michael Caine too, because he loves to talk like him. He probably loves to do an impression of Michael Caine.
That doesn't track. That does not track.
Okay.
Dumb.
Did you have something? Were you just saying something, or can I prompt you?
Do you have a question for me, Char? About this
I do. I do. What do you think on Mr. Damon? How was Matt Damon for you?
It's fine.
Was
Okay,
he good for
actually,
you?
there was one thing I did want to tell you, because you keep talking about like how when you're feeling when you left the movie theater. I didn't had a similar feeling, maybe. My feeling was I left the theater going like, oh yeah, Nolan did it again. Okay, great. Like but it was almost like it's like I'm not impressed, because it's like, yeah, it's like telling your kid who does an amazing job, you're like, he's like, he does this, he gets an A+ or the gold medal or whatever.
But how was it when you left Oppenheimer?
And then you go to the next meet and he does it again. And you're like,
yeah, but how was
wow.
Oppenheimer though? How was Oppenheimer when you left
Yeah, I was more amazed than Oppenheimer. So
Oppenheimer, I was like,
again, it could be just because I feel like I just saw. I felt like Oppenheimer was last year, but it wasn't. But
yeah,
and I only saw it the one time. I didn't even go to see it a second time. This I've seen twice. But and I think that's because they're different types of movies. This is an action movie. This is an action epic.
Why'd you see it twice?
So it's like I won.
Why'd you? Why? Because you liked it so much, or what?
Well, there's two. Well, actually, the reason I went and saw it twice because I wanted to see it for the experience. I think this movie also lends really heavy in the experience spectacle department, so much that you're like, you got to go see it because of that, and it's less about. I don't like saying it's less about the story, because I do think the story is still compelling and great, but it's a movie that you're like, I got to experience this movie, because there's moments in it where I'm like, I don't think I'd have that same feeling or effect if I just saw it at home or just watched it at home, because I don't have the same sound system, or I don't,
So IMAX is better for you?
Screen. I think so. I went and saw it. Well, the reason I went, because I was going to go see it last week, but we were on vacation and I couldn't go. And so then I decided, oh, well, I'll try to see it first thing I can on Monday. But like the earliest I could find with one of my buddies, we were going to go was on a Monday at 2 p.m. But it was only in Dolby, which I was like, Dolby's great because it's like the big sound surround. They put like a subwoofer in all the chairs and stuff, so it's like you're getting a good sound experience.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go then, but then he was also like, oh well, I'm also gonna put in, because we have A-list, MC A-lister, so he was gonna put in for getting a ticket for Wednesday when he could. And so I was like, okay, I'll get one Wednesday. And he went, yeah, we don't have beggars, but we both did IMAX today, so we went and saw it in IMAX. But it wasn't the 70 millimeter; it was just like the regular digital vanilla IMAX, not the one that they're trying to get people to go see.
Okay, so awesome. Now, what about Matt Damon? What do you think about Matt Damon? How was Matt Damon for you?
Who's Matt Damon?
Exactly. That's the response. That's fine. He's Matt Damon.
That actually reminds me of something though. Is that because you said that, I'm thinking about this. The thing that I was thinking about as I'm watching it the second time, I was like, oh wait, Tom Holland isn't American. He has a British accent. Yeah. Like he's British. This movie, he goes with this American accent. I don't know if you noticed that, but like to me, I'm like, that's not his British accent. And then I realized like, oh, the whole movie, because I think that is a criticism of the movie in general, is that even in the trailer, people are like, why is Tom Holland calling him his dad and not his father?
He says dad. That's what's okay. Hang on, pause. That's
so
what's
weird.
So odd is people were so pissed about that, and then in the trailer they used, and I never even saw the trailer, but like people would flash clips, and it's like he says dad, and then Pattinson says daddy. And then for the rest of the movie, they say father. So it's like everybody's pissed off about the usage of the word dad, but it's like I
think he uses it twice.
Sure, but my point being that let's say he uses it 5 times. He says father 50 times. My point being is that for the most part, he's saying father, and then people are pissed off about daddy, which is like old news and adaptations. It's not like if Mel Gibson had directed this, maybe Mel Gibson would have everybody speak their native language, and then he would subtitle it at the bottom. Yeah, and that would be impressive. But this was like Nolan is his blockbuster man. Nolan is blockbuster guy, and he's going to modernize it.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I kind of appreciated. Another thing was like, I think he really went into it as like, this is an interpretation of a story like this. He is not trying to be historically accurate at all in this film, and people
we've already talked about that. This is
some
Nolan's
people are
Odyssey.
really upset by that, and people,
this is
there's a lot of
Nolan's
people that are
Odyssey.
upset by that. I think
Yeah.
there was somebody in the comments that was saying something about like, well, they didn't hire people that were Greek. I'm like, yeah, this is guys, guess what? It's a Hollywood movie, and it's his vision or this interpretation of like what we're going to go see. You know, do you think that we're going to get Armagon or whatever his name is, that kind of outfit in the real world? Of course not. But it looks cool, and it's like, oh, as an audience member, as just a regular old American who's going to the movie theater, or anybody who's going to the movie theater, like, oh, okay, like this is kind of a cool movie. It's almost like we're getting a science fiction movie without actually getting a science fiction movie in a way, where it's like we've kind of heightened the production design to a degree. So it's like this is his version
like
of it. So we're getting
Agamemnon looks ridiculous, but it's like
this.
I mean,
the
choice.
Horse. The horse
is
like
tell me,
like it's this beautiful horse. And
yeah,
you're like
totally.
in any other adaptation, it's like
a crappy horse on wheels. Exactly, it's a crappy horse on wheels. Yeah. So
and for me, I'm like watching this, I'm like that goes more in line. I think you're using that. It's like it goes more in line with the story. It just everything's heightened as like it's not realism. It's
this Trojan horse. This is by far the most badass Trojan horse. It is kind of it's semi funny when they're talking about guys drowning in there and like pissing and crapping on each other. Yeah, where you're like, did nobody think this out? That seems that's why in the past they would just have a crappy horse on wheels and it, you know, Monty Python style. But that was one of those good Nolan calls where he's like, I'm going to make that all crazy realistic, even though it's cool that they bury it in the sand. It's like a reference to Monkey Land, Planet of the Apes. But it's like after like the second tide, we like guys were dying. It's like maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't have nobody's in there going, guys, this was a bad idea. You know, like that. Well, I want to see it. I want to like, Odysseus, you're an idiot.
Diagram. I want to see like someone draw a diagram, or like if the art department had this as what they would actually look like inside that thing. Like how many guys were they trying to fit? That would be if I could sit down with Nolan, I'd be like, how many guys did you fit in the horse? Like how many could you fit? Yeah, in the horse.
So
what were we talking about? We were talking about the horse.
Well, you were talking about stylistic. The stylistic choices are like I will.
To me, the stylistic choices are the same as using the English or using an American English or a very like modern Hollywood speak for all the characters.
Yeah. So
to me, that's the same equivalent. To me, that is the same as like deciding, oh, we're not going to make this realistic. We're going to make it. You kind of believe that it's from the time period, but it's not from the time period. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, if you're going to have those kind of problems with this movie, I feel like you need to go watch more movies and realize you're watching a movie. This whole movie, from the marketing to the movie itself, it's like this is still a Hollywood epic. You remember Ben-Hur? You remember the Ten Commandments? Like this is that kind of movie. It's just the modernized version of it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If like Oppenheimer was extremely like you and I grew up in the era of filmmakers being proud of historical reality, right? Like recreating history perfectly. Oppenheimer did that. It's as if he made a deal of like, let me make Oppenheimer the way I want, and I'll give you your diversity quotas on the next one or something like that. So my overall take will always be, I firmly believe that the director can do whatever the director wants to do. Whatever Nolan wants to do, he can do. If he's making decisions because he wants more golden statues, I think he's an idiot. If he's like, the second in command being an Indian guy saying, I'm a Greek soldier, which is odd. If he's like, this actor is so good that I need him to be in my movie, then I'm like, more power to you. Nolan, you cast whoever you want. But if he's just doing it for golden statues, I think he's an idiot. So that's where it's like, my overall thing with the diversity is like, it breaks the immersion for me, but what are you going to do? I would rather talk about the story I'm not than that.
I'm not somebody
who talk
makes
about
diversity a problem in the movie, but I know like that conversation is very much out there.
That's all anybody wants to talk about, and I find it boring.
As I'm watching this movie, I'm realizing like some of the choice. I'm like thinking about those specific actors or just an actor in general, and I'm like, I have more feeling that like those characters, those actors are and in some instances are like played more because I think they work better for that role because of how much he's going to use that character. And a lot of times people like losing their minds about it. I'm like, yeah, again, I'm here to tell you, you're watching a Hollywood movie. It's like,
so here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let me underline what you're saying.
We have these Israelites who are we have Moses is playing these Israelites. Moses, played by I'm
Charlton
blanking
Heston.
on the name of the actor. Yeah, Charlton Heston, white American. Charles Heston supposed to play Moses, a man from a region where they're speaking Aramaic and basically an Arab language. So are you going to imagine like the most white dude playing that? I'm like, that's where I'm like, this is still we're still seeing a movie. It's still a movie.
So that's all. That's what I mean. It's like if you like, let me put it this way. If it was 10 years ago and I keep wanting to say Ulysses. If Odysseus was played by Denzel Washington, everybody would be like, that was the most badass Odysseus ever. Oh, but he's black. It's like, yeah, but he's Denzel Washington. Like for me, generally speaking, race swaps can break the immersion. As I've said on previous streams, it's like I judge them on a case by case. Here, for a lot of it for me was breaking of the immersion, but here's my fix. Because at this point, America and Hollywood isn't going to change. It is Babylon. We live in it is Babylon now. It's a globalized nation. It's Babylon. My fix would be, especially if Greek people are so pissed off, if all of Greece is pissed off, please, Greece, go raise. Take some tax, take a smidgen of your tax money, take the money that we give you. I'm sure we give you tons of foreign aid every year. Take that money and go make your own Odyssey, please. Go make an all Greek Odyssey, courtesy of the nation of Greece. I would love to see that, and then put that out there. One up this, but this is Nolan doing his Nolan thing. And again, I'm more interested in talking about like the Nolanisms of like how he opens the movie and he fixates on a theme and he cross cuts all over the place, sometimes to an obnoxious degree. I'd rather talk about that stuff than like, there was black person in this. I didn't like that black person. Like I didn't like, that's like a.
Well, I was
thinking
like
a less compelling
argument in this film, and as I'm like, when I was watching the second time, I was like, man, she is ferocious when she kills Armageddon, whatever his name is,
Agamemnon, yeah.
Agamemnon.
Yeah,
that's
so
when he kills her. I was just prefer. Like, damn, she like went for it. And then I also like
terrifying.
That, like, he's not even in the movie that much. Too. I mean, the actress is in the movie, but it's not like she's not.
Can you clarify something? Can you clarify something for me?
Yeah.
What was the sacrifice of, like, was it that she had a twin and like Agamemnon had a daughter? Did Agamemnon have a daughter with Helen? This is what and then they killed the daughter?
She had a daughter. No. She had her daughter.
Okay.
With Helen's sister.
Back up. Start again. Helen
has a twin sister. Right. His twin sister is married to Armageddon. Whatever his name is.
Yeah. Armageddon.
I can't say Armageddon.
Okay.
Armadillomon.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's a Digimon now.
Yeah.
He's married to her. They have a child. That child he uses as a sacrifice, so that he has good wins for this war that he wants to start. I don't know the whole story. I honestly, part of the problem is I've never read the Iliad. I don't know the story of the Trojan horse to a T. So I'm like, there's some stuff I'm like, I don't understand what the purpose for the war is. I'll look that up.
It's been 20 years since I've read it.
This is a story about Odysseus. Anyway, so there's that. And so when he comes back home, he comes back in a grand parade, he's won the war, whatever. He comes back home and his wife is like, oh, it's great. I'm glad you're back. And remember, the wife's only daughter that she loved has been murdered by Armadillomon. And so when he comes back and she's bathing him, and then he's, all of his walls are down and he's alone with her, and then she kills him because of that.
So that's where I say I look forward to watching it again with subtitles on, because it's like it's just all over the place, and I'm like, I I need a second coat of paint here.
There's other things that got lost. And I will say this: that's another criticism Nolan gets often is just on sound. And I think he does sound for a purpose, like you say. It's like these are purposeful choices, whether he's drowning out dialogue, because he does do that a lot. And there were moments where I had to like listen a little bit clearly, or had to catch up of like, wait a minute. Why are they doing X? Why are they doing Z? I forgot what was going on at this moment. So there are little tidbits here of that, but most of the time I was like, oh, I have a pretty decent idea what's going on. I think I was a little confused with the whole rods thing with the lot that he does early in the movie. There was I was a little confused because I'm like, he talks about like I volunteered. And then I'm like, was he trying? He was trying to avoid going to war, so he swapped.
Yeah, they spared the older son
with
and sent Elliot Page
with
instead.
Mans.
Totally. So here's I talked a friend of ours. He was talking to me about how he's like, I don't like how everybody's all pissed off at Lupita or whatever. And I was like, well, here's the thing. Everybody's complaining that she's black, and I'm like, okay, again, that's a boring argument. My counter argument would be Helen of Troy needs to be hot. And it's not that Helen of Troy needs to be hot so everybody can jerk off to her. It's because the motivation to go to war over a woman, nobody would go to war. And I said, I was like, I don't think Lupita is hot. And he was like, what are you talking about? She's I think he said, she's so good looking. I was like, dude, she's so good looking would not be motivation to go to war. Like, she's so good looking is not like, that's like, she's a fine actress.
Honestly, what I'm going to tell you is
but hang on. Let me round this out. So the 1997 version I'm talking about is, there's a race swap in there where I had to look up the name. Vanessa Williams she played Calypso, and it's a race swap. And I'm watching that and I'm going, nobody would care. Nobody would call it a race swap. It wouldn't even come to mind because Vanessa Williams is so hot. If you know who I'm talking about, I'm looking at it, but I don't feel like screen sharing right now, but just Google Vanessa Williams from the 90s. She's like
I have a question.
One of the hottest women ever. So if you're going to do like, I want Helen of Troy to be black, it's like, fine, I don't care, but make her so hot that men would go to war to get her back. And not just to look at a pretty face, but because
I have a question.
Like, think of like Amber Heard. Amber Heard is like a siren. She's so hot that she makes men dumb. Or like Elektra, right? Elektra from The World Is Not Enough. Elektra has an effect on men. She knows that she can manipulate men.
I have a question.
She's like BPD chick because she's that hot.
I get it. You're saying she needs to be hot, but I have a question though, because I don't know the whole story. So so why do they go to war why is the Spartan War, and then why is it all over Helen? Because that was something I didn't get from this movie. Actually, it was like
that's
one
what I mean.
I don't know the specifics.
You and I didn't do our research, and I didn't
what
want
I'm asking you though. Hold on, this is what I'm asking you though.
Yeah.
Is you're saying that she has to be hot?
Yeah.
My thought was like, she has to be hot because a bunch of men want her back? Or does she have to be hot because a man who's in love with her wants her back?
Both, honestly.
See what I'm saying?
Specifically, it would be the king wants her back because, again, like you said, the story is about Odysseus.
Right, but why is that I'm just confused why. I'm saying like I don't think she had to be hot, but also her character's like
the whole legend has always been. You've heard the face that launched 1,000 ships, right? Like, you've heard that.
Yeah,
the face they even say it in this movie. Yeah. So the face that launched 1,000 ships, like, I honestly I could have used more of her in general, but like you said, the story is about Odysseus and not about these other things that honestly I would have liked if it was more about those things. But what I'm getting at is that like super crazy hot women end up having an immense influence on men. We know this. It's like picture the hottest chick you've ever met in your life. Some of them turn to evil very easily. And like with Helen of Troy, it's like, let the men fight over me. Let these two armies go to war over me because that's how important and sexy I am. And so that's what I mean. It's like, it's like you had options. You had, and I'm looking at Vanessa Williams. Like, I'd go to war for her. You know what I mean? So, but I haven't read any of this in 20 years. So it's like, I'm pretty sure though, it's like so and so's wife was stolen by
I just
so and so, and we got to get her back and all that.
For me,
you know, so
it's not going to be. It was just for me again. I'm just saying that it's like this is somebody else's interpretation of the story. If you're going to get that mad about it, and if it was going to like, I get that there's the line about it, but I'm like, I just want to know how Odysseus gets back. Like I'm more concerned about that anyway. So
what I'm saying is
I would rather not try to highlight something so much that we have to know this backstory. It's so distinct, which we kind of don't. We just need to know how they got in the, we don't really need to know how the war started other than like how it affects him. So at that time, I'm like, I don't need to know all the details. Because that's really what they lean into more. And if anything, Nolan's like, yeah, we're going to just talk more specifically about like how it's affecting him and how he had to deal with it and how it also affects a lot of the characters.
But like the killing of Agamemnon was just so, it's like it's so minimal that even like Elliot Page's role is so minimal that I'm like, was this like you could easily see a fan edit removing that stuff and just focusing on like a fan edit would be interesting to watch. I mean, I guess rid of the only extra thing stuff.
They would take out. I mean, the only reason I would be like, yeah, you could, I guess, do that, but I think it would ruin. Well, for one, it would ruin like how, it would ruin like the whole thing with Robert Pattinson. Like his character is very much tied to Elliot Page's character. So
I don't
much
think it would
so
ruin
that you're
it
like,
though.
But then
Did
you're
we
like,
need
yeah,
that?
you can't.
Serious question. Did we need that to? It's like sure.
I think it really
underlines.
I think for me, it's like that underlining the whole coward bit because then you don't have that. Then he's like, well, why is he a pussy at the end of the thing? Why couldn't he do anything? You know what I mean? So it's like,
but we already know that. We already know. We already.
Why
know
do we know
that,
he's
like,
But why do we know he's a coward?
Because of his actions. His actions are
like,
all like what I'm saying is if I were to what I'm saying is if I were to fan edit out the whole thing of like the two brothers and one guy goes to war in place of the other one and then gets killed like the first 5 seconds of the movie, if that wasn't there, then you would still come to the conclusion that Robert Pattinson's character was a coward. You wouldn't necessarily. What I'm saying is if I showed you a fan edit where I took that out and then I unscrambled the whole movie and had it more linear, I'm curious how that would play out. But specifically with Robert Pattinson, you don't need to be, if anything, it shows that like it's not like he chose not to go, right? But if you didn't have that backstory, all you would have is he didn't go. It wouldn't be this thing of like his brother went in his stead. It would just be that he didn't go at all because all these suitors were the guys who stayed behind. So then you have to
cut all these references of him saying, like telling the guy that why he went. But I feel like they lean so much into that part of the story, not because of Elliot Page, but they have to because that character is essentially the victim of the reason why they look upon him in a certain way by the end of the movie, and it helps the audience go, oh yeah, that guy's a scumbag, basically.
It accentuates it. What I'm saying is that if it wasn't,
but then again, I'm also
you wouldn't even notice. Like you, like, and again, I'm saying this. I'm watching it, and I'm curious as I'm watching it, because you yesterday or whatever you told me, you were like, yeah, Elliot Page's role is minimal, so I was looking out for it, and I was like, yeah, this is so minimal that I'm curious if you even need it at all. And yes, it maybe helps, but at the same time, every iteration of the Odyssey I've ever seen is like the suitors you don't need more of a reason to hate the suitors. But what you do get in this is you get the mistreatment of the dog, which is the emotional highlight of this movie. We'll get to the dog. The mistreatment of the dog, the mistreatment of Odysseus himself, which is another violation of Zeus's law, like don't disrespect the home you're in. What I'm saying is the suitors rarely need more motive, like what's the actor we always talk about? Julia Roberts' brother,
Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts was in the 1997 Odyssey, and like he's so good, dude. He's so awesome in everything.
He reads from a teleprompter.
What?
So random. Yeah, he reads from.
He does always, or just in his old age.
He's such a strange guy because like he does any movie. You got the money, he'll come, he'll do it. But like
Wow.
And I say that because like he's in go look at his IMDb. He's in a lot of random movies that are like just these really tiny, low budget,
totally, yeah.
nothing movies.
He does everything.
He's in a lot of those. And I did work on a movie, and I had heard this before, but yeah, because it's like I'm doing you a favor by being in your movie. He's like, I want a teleprompter, and so I don't have to like memorize the script. I can just go read it, act it out, and then get out of there, and just shoot whatever I need to shoot.
Where's my paycheck? But he's passionate though, right? He's actually passionate about.
Yeah, he loves.
Acting,
I mean,
right?
Yeah. He is. I think he has. I mean, and hell, that guy works with Nolan in this movie.
Yeah. So
anyway,
just like last
what are you
words
getting
on
at?
Lupita.
What are you complaining about?
I'm watching Lupita, and I'm like, it's not like I can't see the motivation behind it. I'm watching it with the cynicism in mind of like, is Nolan just checking off boxes because he wants more gold statues? And it's like kind of, but she's also, like you said, she was like scary in that
she's
murder
good.
scene.
I think
she's
my biggest
in
my
that.
big it's like,
You know,
as much as you want to complain or people want to complain about, well, oh, this person's not Greek, they're Indian, Chinese. I'm like, besides that, I think Nolan doesn't give a shit, and he's just like, yeah, just do good acting and don't screw it up, And I feel like for most of the actors in this movie, it's like they give it. You can see they're giving it their all. They're like, oh shit, I'm working on a Christopher Nolan movie. I better.
That's why I always say they need to be earned. Like race swaps need to be earned, and so down to
but
like.
I think all the.
Let me give you one that was odd.
In this movie, I thought they were great.
Like the Indian guy. If I'm like, okay, sure, he was fine. Like I it's not like he made me cry or anything, but I'm like, yeah, I don't
think it was meant to make you cry.
He was good, but you know what I'm saying. Like I'm like, he played his role, but then
when they have like, hate him.
But when they have like when they have like fat black guy, like one of his main guys was like not just one of
the early guys
badass looking black guy.
No, I know
who you're
talking about. The guy who's the translator. Yeah, the translator.
Like, what is this? Why is there a fat black guy? Why is there a fat anybody in this movie?
The translator guy, right? You're talking about the translator, and then he gets eaten pretty quickly in the Cyclops cave, right?
I don't remember when he went out. Probably
he was the translator. He was the guy. Yeah, I think
so.
I think you're talking about the translator guy.
But he looked like he didn't fit.
Good.
Like I mean, physically, he looked like he didn't physically fit in his outfit, and they were like, whatever, Like you check the fat box. That we'll get more Oscars if we have fat people too. But that's what I mean, where it's like if you're gonna race swap, you should earn it. But like again, I'll always swing back to what are you gonna do? Grease, go make your own. Like if you're gonna bitch and complain about it, Grease, please go make your own, and we'll watch that. And we'll compare and contrast. But to repeat myself, I'm more interested in Nolan and like how he goes about things, and seeing this as like an unfortunate return to Dunkirkness. In a way that, like, again, I would rather just be at sea with Odysseus for long stints rather than we're going to cut from the whatever it is. We're going to cut from the Cyclops to Calypso, back to Tom Holland, which, by the way, you mentioned Tom Holland not using his British accent. I think he figured out that by speaking in an American accent, it makes him come across as more boyish. So I think that's a good call.
Could be, but I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think. And I was listening to all the actors and characters. And I'm like, nobody in this movie has a British accent. At least I did not pick up a single person that had a British accent in this movie, which I thought was surprising because he has in the past, like Michael Caine or a lot of his other actors. So I was like, I don't think he's I think he's doing. I think that's a choice. I think he was like, we're going American because it's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, he's
big old epic Hollywood movie.
He's turned his back on the UK. Okay, McCurdy? What is the emotional highlight of this movie? What is the peak?
For you or for me? For you, was the dog.
Either one. Oh, I already said that, didn't I?
It's
yes.
when no, it's actually
Dude,
after that moment.
Dude.
It's actually for me. It was after that moment because it's when Odysseus tells him he's so proud of his son, and I was like, man, my dad said that.
Daddy issues.
I'd be like, my dad said that.
We can talk about your daddy issues in a bit. The dog, dude. The dog. That is totally new, right? Like that's one of those things where Nolan's like, I'm gonna put my fresh ideas in here. That
the dog's
moment,
in the original poet. The dog is in the original poem.
Okay, then that's something that I've totally forgotten.
Okay, the dog is in the poem, but the dog is in the poem, and it is like that is supposed to be the beat in the story, I guess, is that he finds the dog. The dog, when he meets the dog dies, and that's how to Marcus or whatever, how do you say his name, figures out that it's his father. That's in the book. But he adds again, like, and I was trying to get to this point, but like in any adaptation of old text, you do kind of have to Hollywood it a lot. And what I mean by that is that you can do a movie that's just the telling of all the events, but that's a really boring movie, i.e. your least favorite Nolan movie being Dunkirk, because it's not really about like characters having emotional talks about like what's going on or what's happening. It's just like they did this, then they went out and did this, then they went out and did this, and that. If you go back and like read the Bible, most of the stories are like that. There's just not a lot of, there's no dialogue. So it's just like the dialogue we have is literally minimal. It's like, oh, go down and do yada yada yada, and like that's it. But we don't really get to know who these characters are. So this movie does like that, where it's like they're pumping up story things that were in the poem, trying to stay true to that. Because like I think someone going into this movie and being like, well, what's up with this bow and arrow thing? Why does he have to string the bow? Why is he the only one who strings the bow? I'm like, because that's what was in the original text. Like he just wanted to keep
who's complaining about that?
People.
Is anybody complaining about that?
I think someone did in this and was that?
Well, okay.
Was complaining about it, or somebody was. I don't know.
If you want to stick around and go through the comments, like it's your choice if you want to stick around, because you're probably just going to get triggered. I can cover off on that if you at any point want to leave. But if you're just going to get butt hurt, then let me cover those. But I want to talk about the dog. I want to talk about the dog.
You want to talk about the dog?
Like McCurds, you get, I won't say triggered. You drop tears when it has to do with anything that reminds you of your wife and kids. Me, I was so like seeing that old dog's tail go erect like this. I was like, I was so emotionally distraught in that moment where that immediately I was like, okay, it's cute that he's meeting up with his son, but like, who cares? Did you see that dog thing? That was so spot on. That dog, like smelling him and then him going over and touching him, and then frail old dog like trying to shake his tail because he's excited and then immediately dying. I don't remember it from the poem, from the story, whatever, but that was so awesome. Where I'm, but then him meeting back up with his it's so funny because like getting back with his wife was cool. That moment was the fight was kind of dumb and elongated, as we talked about, but like getting back together with her was cool, and then bookending it with we're gonna go out west, even though I don't know what it means to honor his men. I don't understand what it means.
I mean, that might be, and that might be one of those things. Just like I gotta go and read about it.
Yeah, I don't get. That broke the meter for me, where I was like, okay, that's Nolan doing his like meaning thing, and I don't know what he's going for here. Most other stories, it's just, hey, we're back together, and isn't that great? But which reminds me of, there was a moment. Do you remember in Oppenheimer when I was saying I effing loved the quote of you don't get to commit the sin and then expect everybody to feel sorry for you when there's consequences? Like that's my philosophy in a nutshell. Like I love that.
Going backwards. You know how I was talking about the movies?
There's a line here.
I was watching the movie and I realized.
Do you remember the line?
I realized. I don't know the line. I don't know what the line.
A line that resonated with me. Not maybe along the same lines.
What was the line? You tell me the line.
Quote here, and I didn't want to pull my phone out because I don't do that in theaters, but like. She and I was hoping you could remind me. Penelope says something about like the structure of something. This is right at the beginning. This is like the first 15 minutes when they're setting up everything at home.
Was he talking about
Ithaca?
He's talking about.
She says something about the structure. She's talking about the home, but she's like structure without an appreciation for the underlying meaning, right? Which immediately, like Nolan is always commenting on filmmaking in his movies. Like he's making movies about making movies frequently. That's why I'd love to rank his movies someday so we could flesh that out more. But that, whereas like a structure.
Odysseus is the director, and the other guy is the first AD. Yeah. In this movie. Odysseus is the director.
I don't know how I would. Sure, but I need to look up that line, or I need to revisit that line again. I didn't write it down, but something about like seeing a structure without understanding the underlying meaning to me resonated with like people talking about movies, but not gleaning the meaning, not understanding the meaning of them, you know, versus just seeing the structure. I just see the structure without comprehending what's underneath. But that again, that's why I need to get a second coat of paint on this.
So the other thing I was going to say was, you know, I was talking about the similarities between his other films because, you know, every auteur director kind of repeats himself. At one point, you realize, oh wait, didn't he already do that in this other movie? The other thing I was thinking about was Oppenheimer, because I thought about it because I was getting in my head, kind of my head canon, and analyzing kind of how he's tying this little thing with like, we tricked the gods, so therefore we broke the rule, we destroyed the rule because of what we had done in Troy.
We cut off Athena's head.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about that, and I was like, oh yeah, he's pulling back things from Oppenheimer that he did, because with Oppenheimer it was like a lot of it was, you know, he's like, it was necessary, we had to do that. But I feel bad that I did that. And then this movie, it's the same thing. He's like, yeah, I feel bad that I came up with this brilliant idea. Because I think he even said, like, and then it goes back to what Legozamo, what he said, whatever. Luigi. Sorry, I always like calling him
Luigi. Yeah.
Luigi. Like, Luigi's telling him, he's like, yeah, your cunning is going to kill you. And it's like, because, like, Spartan, and then I get it.
Yeah. So anyway. And that's what I mean is like, I maybe on a second watch, I'll be like, this all does tie together really well. But it was like, wait, hang on, back up. Odysseus feels bad about winning the war. Like, wait, has he? Yeah. So you're saying the whole time he's felt bad? But that's, I'd love to do, like, honestly, the thought of, like, I do so much editing. All I want in the world is a Patreon that brings in so much money a month to pay an editor so that you and I can just sit down and talk and then pass everything off to somebody else who won't be a nutcase like me and spend weeks on a single video, you know? But like to go through all of Nolan's movies and again, this is the first pass. Like anytime, even when we covered Oppenheimer, I was like, there's some things that went over my head and I need to watch it again. And anybody who watches that for the first time is somewhat confused, but it'd be so great. But you're right. Drawing lines like that, like, okay, the last movie was about a guy with a brilliant idea that leads to the threatening of civilization itself. And so that's how this movie ends, is like, I feel really bad about winning the war. I walked around and saw Athena get her head cut off. But it's because everything comes at you so quickly, I get the sensation that I need a second coat, because until I do, it doesn't all congeal. Like, I'm sitting here going, I don't know, Athena was barely in it. And you're saying maybe Athena was in his head, but then there's also supernatural elements, so I don't know. But I'm like, I could have used, it's like people talk about Zendaya being in this and, you know, and her being miscast or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if she was miscast. I couldn't judge it. She was hardly in it. You know, I could have used more. I would have appreciated more of her. There was a ton of Tom Holland.
I remember there was something about Zendaya that I was remembering when I was watching the movie the second time. And I was like, because the way in which he's mise en scène, the whole scene where she's, you know, at the very end of the movie when he kills, when they slash the Athena statue and all that stuff. And so, like, you see it a couple times before. They see the head, the stone head roll, but you don't know, like, it's not the build up to it. And then when he's telling his whole speech or whatever, to his what if speech to Penelope, you actually do see it. And then when he slashes it, it's like before we see the soldier destroy the statue, we see two men bringing Zendaya, like as if it was Athena herself. Yeah. And then they supercut that with like him cutting it and then Athena. But as I was watching that this time around, I'm like, is this is again me going like, is Zendaya actress supposed to be Athena, which she is, right? But like, is it that, or is this is this another Inception weird dreamy thing with where Odysseus saw Zendaya, who's some villager of Troy, get murdered, and it's like there's some young girl to him, and then but at the same time he saw the statue, so now every time he thinks of Athena, he's thinking of this little girl.
I had the same thought, and I don't want that to be the case. Like I'm with you. I'm like, wait, am I to connect?
It doesn't matter,
but
it's not.
But I'm like, I don't like
why don't
that
you like
as
that?
of right now.
Why don't you like that?
Because I'm stuck in previous iterations where Athena is a goddess and he has conversations with her, and that's what the what I've always the reason why I took Latin class and all that is because the concept of the gods and all that fascinates me, and so I'm willing to admit that on a first pass I am tainted by previous knowledge of it, where the whole time he's talking to different gods, he's communicating with different supernatural deities. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, Athena wasn't there the whole time. And because what I'm saying is I had a fleeting thought of the same thing and then immediately was like, no, that can't be the case. I think it was more symbolic of killing your gods, right? It's like a satanic killing of Athena.
Yeah, but even
and
if that's
representative
the case,
of
if it
the
is
fall
killing
of civilization,
the gods,
right?
Right, and it's all civilization, but even if that is that, then it's like, well, it could be a completely separate thing where it's like, yeah, well, you're killing your guys, you're killing your people, you're killing the innocent. That's all tied together with like you're seeing if Zendaya was a villager. But I think I'm wondering
but I don't think
if
she
this
was.
movie,
I think
I
it
am
was
wondering,
symbolic,
But I'm wondering though, us having this conversation, I'm like,
she
we're
personified the statue. There's a reason why they cut off the statue's head as they kind of cut her head off. It was symbolic of killing God.
I'm wondering is after this movie has after a couple of years have passed on this movie, like people talk about Inception at the end of the movie, is like, was this or was it this? I'm very curious if other people will say, or other people will kind of have that same thought about Athena in this movie and be like, wait,
I think that would say less. I honestly think that is less meaningful.
I'm very curious if that was going to be something that said.
Yeah,
I'm curious if that conversation is going to be coming up from other people. That's
possibly. Yeah, possibly. What I'm saying is my preference, the more meaningful my more meaningful route would be that it was to showcase because what is he talking about at that time? He's talking about the death of decency and the fall of civilization. So how am I going to read that based off what I always have said on this channel is basically when people behave like animals, civilization fails and then everything falls when people stop abiding by the rules. And so what do you have? You have them taking this goddess, putting her on her knees and chopping her head off. It's symbolic of the destruction of basic decency, which you have in war. But that's also why that's also why for me there's a slight mismatch where it's one thing if Odysseus, if this was a reimagining of Odysseus being a Viking sacking some poor town, but that ignores the fact that again, please forgive us for not rereading this stuff. I didn't want to reread anything before watching the movie because I just want to talk about the movie. But the overall motivation was to go get Helen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Helen stolen? And so the whole idea is that they're going to go get her back. And so if suddenly that theme becomes, no, we were basically what I'm saying is like all's fair in love and war. She was stolen, and then there's a war fought to bring her back, and that's different from just like a band of pirates going to a village and killing and raping everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so Nolan's trying to combine the two and have Odysseus feel bad about this trickery. And I'm like, why? He's a soldier in a war, and something they do in the movie is the first F-bomb is him being like, this effing beach, which was like, it was kind of a weak, it's kind of a weak F-bomb. He was like, it was like kind of forced. He's like, this effing beach, I don't like it, but the whole idea was that we've been here for 10 years. laying siege to the city, and then that anger came out in one night, and then his fifis were bad. He didn't feel good about it, and it's like I don't know. I just don't know if I believe that entire, or I don't know if that's the best way to go about it when it's a war versus the sacking of a group of Vikings just killing people for no reason. You know what I'm saying? You understand the difference? So,
anyway, I'm gonna probably head out.
Yeah, you head out. I'm gonna go through the comments because they're gonna trigger your. Speaking of,
I'm very triggered.
Emotionality.
Very triggered.
You're gonna be so triggered.
We're
gonna talk about race swaps and trannies.
Yeah,
boy!
I hear enough about it. Yeah, I mean, I hear enough about it from you every other day. So, like,
totally. Well, we covered the more interesting stuff, but I guess last question though before you go, where would you pull up a list if you need to? I just had one up and I'll pull it back up.
Of his movies?
What's your flash rank? I'm just coining that term tonight. Flash rank.
Your flash rank of these movies.
Nolan movie list. I mean, honestly, any movie that has the least amount of black people, that's automatically number one. And then any movie that doesn't have trannies in it, that's automatically number one. And Dark Knight has black people in it. Hate that movie. Oppenheimer, literally like no black people. So that's why it's his masterpiece. Forget everything I said 3 years ago. That's the best.
What would I rank this movie?
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I mean, do you have a list?
I don't know. I don't have a list. I think for me, my favorite of his, I think, is Inception. Next
that's the worst.
The Dark. No. My favorite.
Wait. Okay. I misheard you. I was like, wait, what?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying for me, my favorite, I think, of his is probably Inception, because you can kind of see like he really cared a lot about this story. I mean, this was kind of his darling story that he came with. I really like Inception.
Do you think Oppenheimer still his best though? Do you still think that objectively that's his best? Like you said 3 years ago? It may not be your favorite, but it's his best.
I think it is his best, but I think what makes this, like, for me, here's what I'm gonna say. I think this is the best movie I've seen this year. I've seen Possession, and that was also a very good movie, but I think this is the best movie I've seen this year. And I say that because when you're talking about what is the best movie, you could go with a lot of things. This, I think, Nolan's his one great bag of tricks that he likes to do is he's really good with spectacle, which is like the equivalent of I'm going to go see Fast and Furious or a movie to turn your brain off, like a Transformers. But
spectacle, also, but smart. Spectacle,
exactly.
But
so he's able to do both.
Yeah.
And I think it still is true for this movie. I think Oppenheimer was heavier on the smart, less on the spectacle, because it was a smaller movie. It's like we're not having to do a bunch of action scenes, a lot of people talking in rooms and really feeling the intensity of it.
I think, quick interjection, I think the gaggle of like 15, 17-year-old girls who, it was like me in the front and all of them in the back that saw this movie today, I don't think those girls understood a fucking thing going on in this movie other than the obvious stuff of like guy goes away, comes home, kills everybody, gets back with his wife.
And I think
I'm going to venture that they didn't know what was happening.
So why are you interjecting? Wait, so what's the point of your interjecting?
Because what you were just saying, what we were talking about is Nolan is the spectacle but smart guy. He's well known to be the blockbuster but brainy guy, right? The alliteration game is on point tonight. So right, so it's but like take any of his other take the Dark Knight movies, and it's like everybody's going to understand what's going on. Those are clear movies; anybody can comprehend them. I'm saying to you, I'm like, what was the deal with the baby that was sacrificed? What was the deal with even like I was struggling to maintain my understanding of the Elliot Page story, but and the Lot thing helped. You know, there's all these things going on where it's like I don't understand what's going. I need a second coat of paint, let alone being a 17-year-old girl on her phone.
This movie for me, I think it was more. I think again, like what I'm trying to get at is like I felt like Oppenheimer was more like less on the spectacle, more on the just the people talking in rooms kind of thing. It's like it was almost Nolan trying to prove like, yes, I can do a people talking in rooms movie and do really well with
He
that.
nailed
and
it,
he
dude. It was so good.
But then this movie is like the polar opposite in that camp, where it's like we're gonna lean more back into like the Interstellar or the Tenet, but like this time I'm going to do something I haven't done before, which is a period piece that takes place, thousands of years ago, which was cool. So it's like, and I think that's like the biggest part of it is like we still get some smart story stuff, because obviously you and I are trying to like decipher the meaning behind things, regardless if regardless of how you felt about it. It's like you and I are still sitting here talking about like, what did this mean this, or did this mean this?
The fall of religion leading to the fall of civilization.
Any other
we need that story to forget the race swaps and the trannies. We need more stories about the fall of religion leading to the fall of civilization. That should be the fucking headline.
Yeah. So any other spectacle movie would be like, oh, well, I don't really need to put that heavy on, but it's a big spectacle movie. You're going to see this thing, and it's like he does both in this movie. So for me, it's like I don't know, again, biased because I just saw it twice, maybe two, maybe his second best movie or third best.
That's pretty
movie.
Damn high. That's pretty damn high. So under Inception.
Yeah, maybe. Like
you're seriously gonna put this above Batman movie? Serious question. You're gonna put this above every Batman movie?
Yeah, and I think and for me that argument's spectacle alone. Like that is literally just me going like you're taking a it's like we're gonna adapt two different properties. This is a comic book that is already inspired by other heroes. Here's like one of the original stories to deal with. So it's your hands are kind of tied with Batman. I feel like maybe you're also kind of tied with this one in a way. It's like you get a little more. He can go a little more weird at this movie, which I don't think he could do as much as you wanted to in Batman, though. But that's just my take. Like, I don't know, maybe.
Sure, but in previous iterations, the Calypso scene makes sense and is compelling, right? Especially because it's like, how long have I been here? Oh, my God. I've been here for years.
Yeah.
In this iteration, I'm questioning even down to something like that. Why is Calypso in this movie? What was the point of Calypso being a part of this? Like, what function did that have to have Calypso? In other iterations, it fits. It makes sense. It's like remember in speaking of Nolan movies, in Interstellar, when they go down to the planet and they're there for 5 minutes and then they come back and it's been 10 years or whatever, or like 30 years.
Well, what do you need? Hold on. Tell me what you need out of this character and why do you feel like it doesn't fit then?
I'm not saying it doesn't fit. What I'm saying is
it needed?
What is the purpose of Calypso? Yeah, what is the purpose of having Calypso in this tale when all I remember from all those scenes is like the White Lotus, which is like one of the major takeaways of the Odyssey in general is the whole White Lotus thing, and that whole concept. It's like these guys prefer to. It's like heroin. Right?
Well, let me ask you this: if you didn't have it in there,
opium.
If you didn't have it in there, would it jar you to be like, wait, that should be in the story? You know what I mean?
I think people would be like, it'd be like Tom Bombadil. They'd be like, why wasn't Calypso in there? And Nolan would be like, well, I tried and it just didn't fit. You know what I'm saying? But now having seen it with Calypso in there, I'm going, what could you have just taken that out? What was the point of having Calypso in there? What did she add to the story? Whereas Calypso,
so for this, is this one of your bottom two for you? Is that what you're getting at? Like, I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say.
Well, for me, looking at the list, it's like I can't imagine putting this above the entire Batman trilogy. It would be like I said, it would be closer to Dunkirk for me. I'm not saying it would be like if Dunkirk's the bottom, I wouldn't immediately say it's right above it. I'm more like Oppenheimer's better. I haven't seen Tenet. Dunkirk sucks. Interstellar's better. Dark Knight Rises is better. Inception's obviously better. Dark Knight, Prestige is better. Batman Begins. Batman Begins, the clear theme of fear mastered. Like that movie masters the theme of fear. Dark Knight, chaos, masters the theme of chaos, order and chaos. If this movie on a second viewing is front to back about fall of religion leads to the fall of civilization, cool, but like it doesn't seem to fit hand in glove like Batman Begins fits with fear, and Dark Knight fits with chaos. And
so your whole
and
let me ask you this though. So is your whole
fits.
ranking are based around just the story itself, not like anything technical, any of the mise en scène, any of the way it was shot, or any of that? Like that doesn't weigh at all in any of the movies.
Say so.
I know you like to say that when we do the Bond things, but for me, it's like that's kind of the reason people started going to Nolan movies, because they realized like the way he makes the movies, it's not just the stories that he's telling, it's just also the way that he is able to restrain himself in some ways where another filmmaker would go, oh no, we're going to see the whole monster. It's like, no, we're going to do this. Or it's like the way that he's like, I'm going to push to do an IMAX movie and try to make this movie feel as big. I'm that direct, like for me, it's like, yeah, I feel like he's mastering those more elements. And that's why for me, I'm like, yeah, I can see why I like The Odyssey a lot more than some of his, or I think these in some ways is one of his better movies, instead of it being like, oh, it's just specifically the story things. Because then I'm like, yeah, so you're gonna compare a movie like a smaller movie like Memento to this movie, and they're kind of different. They're very different movies.
What I'm saying is,
filmmakers.
What I said from the get go is that it seems like when Nolan. When the path ahead of him is too linear, he puts his movies in the editing blender, and I don't like that. When it comes down to Dunkirk, and now when it comes down to The Odyssey, it worked in Oppenheimer, but the editing blender is again, I always point to The Dark Knight, where that was like obviously with Memento, obviously with Following, you get that. But you really get a lot of it in Memento, where he is he's playing tricks on you with like memory and all that. A little bit with that insomnia, of course. Batman Begins is largely linear. That's very much just like the only thing he's playing around with.
The beginning of the movie, you go
Boyhood.
back. Yeah. It's like the beginning. He's trying to explain, explaining his
Ocarina of Time
story
style. He's cutting between childhood and adulthood. And then Prestige is I was going to say is Prestige the first of his movies, but it's not. But the Prestige is literally about like a third act structure. Give normality, take normality and put it into chaos, and then bring it back to normality, right? Like that's the whole thing. And that coupled with live the act, right? But what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is that when it's so far in Dunkirk and Odyssey, he's felt the need to go crazy with the editing, and in both instances, I'm like, be a little more linear. Be a little more linear to make a little more sense. But it seems like when he decides that his story is going to be boring and that one segment is going to be 45 minutes and another segment is going to be 5 minutes, he goes, well, take the 45 minutes and break it down into 2-minute chunks and put it on random. Like just sprinkle it in there. And the editor's like, where? I would love to read these scripts and see if he scripts it out verbatim how it's going to be edited. I think that would be fascinating. I'd be impressed if it was like that. That would be very impressive. And he's clearly a good writer. But it doesn't mean that I like the final effect of being Calypso scene. And then thank God Cyclops was one set piece, but it's like back to Calypso, then we're going to go over here, then we're going to go over there. It's as opposed to just give me the good old like if Lord of the Rings was split up, where take the whole trilogy and jump through the timeline, edit it like Nolan, and we're here, and then you can follow on the map. It's like we're in Mordor. The movie opens with them in Mordor and a shot of Barad-dûr, and then an orc walks by and a shadow, and then a hobbit hiding, and then we cut back to the Shire and everything's great. And then we cut back and Frodo's clutching the ring and he's like, man, this ring is about power. This ring is powerful. It's about power. It's like, okay, the theme's about power. Cut back to the Shire. You know what I'm saying? Like Nolan would just put Lord of the Rings in an editing blender and he would steal the linearity of it because he wouldn't want you to get bored. That's what I'm getting back to. This isn't a bad movie. It's just like Nolan can't help himself and does retention editing in a way that's good in Oppenheimer and bad in The Odyssey. That's what I mean. Anyway, anything else, McCurds?
No, I'm gonna head out. You can go hang out for a little bit, but I'm gonna.
So you're saying the dog didn't make you cry? Did you cry over Penelope? because you have a sensitivity to wife and kids? Did you cry over Tom Holland and Penelope? And then I cried over a fucking dog.
Yeah, because you're heartless.
So good. You know, remember I always think of Sopranos. Remember in Sopranos where it was like, at the end of Sopranos, it was like, yeah, sociopaths are like they love animals and they hate humans. And I always think of that. I'm like, huh, I love animals and I hate humans. Does that mean I'm a sociopath? Anyway.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna head out.
All right, brother.
I'll see you.
How do they salute in the Odyssey?
They don't.
They don't.
They're like, I don't know. They don't do the they don't do like a Trojan thing like the. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
That would be offensive. That would be offensive to modern audiences to salute in any way because that implies violence while they grape a whole city. So, yeah.
All right. Peace out.
All right, bro. See you, dude.
Right.
Do I need to boot you? There we go. Now you can see my whole set. All right, I'll just go through the comments and then leave it at that. But like, yeah, it's a Nolan movie. That's for sure. I just think Nolan's just like vying for gold statues again. So here we go. Kim Bailey. Hi guys, this movie by Christopher Nolan was nothing but a Tron horse for the woke audiology, and it is very disrespectful too. Greek mythology in the casting was totally wrong. So I mean, we've talked about this. It's like that's what everybody's talking about. I get it. It's like honestly, a lot of the comments are going to be about this. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We live in Babylon. You know, we talked about this, and if you watched any of the streams for 007 First Light, it's like M is an Indian woman. I'm like, yeah, we live in Babylon now. What are you going to do? You know, me, what do? I don't watch anything new. This is the first movie I've seen in theaters this year, and I only went to see it because you guys kept asking my opinion on it, and I was like, I cannot give an opinion. I'm not the guy to jump to conclusions because, as I've said before, that's what they want you to do. As the guy who left the ad world because it pissed me off how just crazy everybody is. Everybody thinks they're a good. I cast a black person in a commercial today. That makes me a good person. I'm like, yeah, are they a good actor? Like that's all I care about because I see people as people. You know. But for them, it's like, oh, yeah, I don't even consider white people. I'm like, okay, well, that's evil. Like, you're a racist piece of shit. I don't like you. You're an idiot. But that was everybody that I ever worked with. And then they go around thinking that they're good people for that. But at the same time, you have Nolan, arguably the most powerful director on the planet today. And he has always been a step above that, right? He's always gotten away with I have no idea if Lucius Fox has always been black, but like when Lucius Fox is Morgan Freeman, does anybody blink an eye? Of course not, because we all love Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman could play James Bond tomorrow, and everybody'd be like, "All right, it's weird, but I love Morgan Freeman." So what I'm getting at is like if Nolan is just checking, he probably is in all likelihood. He's just checking off boxes because now to win an Oscar, you need to abide by the rules. I think that's kind of lame on his part. He got his Oscars. So why not just leave it at that? Well, because money. Everything comes down to money. And so same in the ad world. It's like, well, in their racist minds, they're like, well, black people won't see the movie if there aren't black people. Asian people won't see the movie if there aren't Asian people. And if you can believe it, I would talk with people in the ad world who would be like, you know, like a friend of mine who she was Hispanic. She was like, well, I do appreciate being represented. I'm like, what? That just means you're a narcissist. If you're sitting there and you're like, this movie doesn't have people who look like me. I'm like, then you're just a fucking narcissist. Like that's what you are. If you expect a movie to look like you, you know, it's like walking up to the Mona Lisa and being like, I can't identify with her because she doesn't look like me. It's like, it's not about you, you fucking asshole. So that's where for McCurdy's like, you know, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what are you going to do? I would prefer if it was historically accurate, of course. Why? Because I care about the truth. McCurdy tends to care about people's feelings. I don't. So, that's where he lives. It doesn't bother him, but me, I'm still gonna be more interested by Nolan's story choices than I am about like, oh no, I saw an Asian guy. It's dumb, but that's why I say, hey, Grease, take a smidgen of your money and go make your version. That would actually be awesome. I would love that. I would love if tomorrow there was a press release and the country of Greece was like, we just put into operation the greatest telling of our beloved, Homer, our man of the last 3,000 years. We're gonna do him right. He's spinning in his grave right now, and we're gonna give him peace. I would love that, But in the meantime, Hollywood is just like the ad world. Hollywood cares about one thing, money, while pretending that they care about people, which they don't. They just care about money. So it's just like voting. You have to understand that today it's an autistic approach as politics. Black people only want to vote for black people or for things they care about. Like basically everybody, just like advertising, everybody gets broken down into demographics, and it's disgusting and racist, but apparently it works because otherwise why would they do it if it didn't make money? So, now apparently Nolan has fallen to that, and I think it's because for him it's not money. For him it might be statues. Who knows? But so is it frustrating? Yeah. But again, that's why I don't watch new things. I just watch old things. So, if you care that much, just only watch old things, Cordy Manor says Dunkirk is bad. I agree. I hate I hate it. I hated it the whole time I was watching it. I couldn't wait to leave. I thought it was so lame. I look forward to the day that I can do a 5-minute opening and cover my screen and spit, blah, blah, blah. Todd Howard Sigma says, haven't watched The Odyssey, but from what I've seen and heard, it seems to be a spiritual successor to Oppenheimer than an actual adaptation of The Odyssey. That's kind of what we got at. I mean, I wasn't thinking of that as I was watching it because, nothing really triggered that, but the idea of a guy having a really good idea and then feeling guilty. Like I said, that's what I kept trying to express to McCurdy. I was like, it seemed like all of a sudden Odysseus was like, by the way, Penelope, I feel really bad for what I did. I'm like, you won the war, like, yeah, people died, but like, that's war, So I don't know if Nolan had in mind this whole idea of the Odyssey has similar themes to Oppenheimer, or I've been dealing with Oppenheimer for years and that's bleeding into the Odyssey. But yeah, there's certainly a connection there. But I, as of now, seeing it one time, I thought it was kind of came out of nowhere. I was like, wait, he's been guilty this whole time? I didn't pick up on that at all, until he said it. Mr. Blastoise says, Ethan Toys, were you always Blastoise? Or did you change to Blastoise after we obnoxiously kept calling you Blastoise? I cannot remember. He says, Skyfall is a better Odyssey movie. I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know how to take that. I don't know if I should take that as a joke or serial. But if it's like, yeah, a guy disappears and comes back, I guess Bond's Odyssey was significantly shorter, and he should have had more babes. If it was the Odyssey, he should have like stayed with that chick on the beach for a lot longer. He's like, how long have I been here? Kind of like remember You'll Only Live Twice, the book. Bond loses his memory, and then he like is hanging out with Kissy Suzuki for like months. Like that's totally some White Lotus Calypso stuff. Like Bond's like he like gets in with this village and is just with these Japanese folks for a long time before he suddenly just realizes like I have to go. That's some Calypso stuff right there. So there you go. I heard that Nolan is metaphorizing Vietnam. I don't know. If you want a good Odyssey movie with Vietnam, you go watch Apocalypse Now. don't watch. This is the Odyssey. This is the Odyssey. So if you're going to say it's metaphorizing Vietnam, you could just say it's metaphorizing all of violent warfare. Then that's what I'm getting at. Is it's like I don't remember any iteration where Odysseus is feeling guilty over what he did for like a dirty trick, but like there's no Vietnam equivalent to the Trojan horse, as far as I'm aware of, other than like on the side of the Viet Cong. It'd be like a reversal, so which would be interesting. But yeah, nothing that rang Vietnam for me. Regi says, really wanted to love this movie, but just couldn't. Outside of Batman, Nolan just cannot tell a straight up story. Outside of Batman, Nolan just can't tell a straight up story. Yes, Regi. Yes, it works for Inception and Interstellar, but the Odyssey does not need that narrative. Exactly. It's like Nolan has this fear of if it's not his original tale, he can't tell it in a linear fashion because then he's a rent-a-director or something. He's like, I need to hyper fixate on a theme, which worked well in Oppenheimer because obviously Oppenheimer felt guilty, even based off the famous interview with him. Like some people laughed, a few people cried. Obviously he was guilty. And then you have the whole communism thing on top of that. It's like built into it. But with Dunkirk, he's like, I have to fixate on cowardice. So this movie's smart. And then the Odyssey is like, I have to fixate on guilt. Otherwise, it's not original, where it's like, just tell the story, So that's why it should say on the top, it should say Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I don't know if it does, but it should say that to differentiate it from, Homer, but whatever. But yeah, outside of Batman, he just can't tell a straight story. It's like one trick pony. Try to control yourself. He just can't, though. Regi also says there was such a good... Wait, hang on. What was... Oh, yeah. Something I wanted to ask McCurdy was whether or not it's in the story about, like, they get off on that one island and then there's all the guys in the giant guys in suits. I don't remember that. Again, I haven't read this poem since high school or junior high or whatever. So I was like, what was that? I don't know. Just leave that alone. There was such a good message about what happens when folks reject religion norms and a man's desire to get home to his family, but it was just drowned out by a weird PTSD, emotional trauma message. Again, and drowned out by non-linearity. That's the most frustrating thing is like, why do we cut back to the Calypso story 15 times? What am I supposed to get from the Calypso story? Other than like just off the top of my head, obviously eating the White Lotus would be like drinking this whiskey. It helps you forget. But that's not something that I'm feeling as I'm watching it because I'm seriously unaware the whole time that he is feeling guilt over the war. Like I'm so willing to admit that maybe I just didn't pick up on it the first time through and I'm stupid. But what does that say about the movie if I'm not understanding his guilt? Now, what if that speech if you're going to put the movie in an editing blender, what if that speech that he gives to Penelope, what if we heard that speech immediately? Rather than at the end of the movie, what if at the beginning of the movie, because that's when it fucking took place, what if he was talking about how he felt this guilt over sacking Troy? And then for the rest of the movie, it's like understood that it's like this prolonged sense of guilt because it's taking that much longer to get home. So why not put that scene, if the editing blender was working right, put the scene that establishes his feelings of guilt at the beginning of the movie instead of the end where it took me off guard in a bad way. You know what I mean? Oh, anyway, Regi. Pattinson would knock it out of the park as a Bond villain. Totally agree. We talked, we hit that already. Blastoise says they knew what they were doing. The strongest soldier Odysseus ever knew is the weakest looking. Yeah, but that's not Achilles, right? I agree. The first one of the first shots in the movie is Elliot Page running on the beach, and like she looks stupid. Like she looks like a girl. I know how a girl runs. She looks like a girl. She looks like a scrawny little bitch, and it is dumb. But then what happens 2 seconds later? She gets brutally murdered. Like the first thing that happens to her is she dies. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what would happen. So that's one of those things where I was like, people who hate that casting should love that opening. The face that launched 1,000 ships is made purposefully uglier than Lupita Nyong'o in real life. She honestly, like the banquet scene, I was like, yeah, like she looks pretty, like I didn't get the sensation that they made her look ugly, other than the fact that they reveal that the other half of her face got cut up, probably for punishment's sake, she got cut up or whatever. But nobody launches 1,000 ships for a pretty face. That's my whole thing. Like I'm 100% on the side of like Sydney Sweeney playing that role. Like I know that's an extreme example, but it's like you could see 1,000 ships being launched over those titties. For the people saying that Sydney Sweeney's not that hot, it's like, well, like she's got the bod and like she's not like an Amber Heard face, but the whole package you could see guys going to war over. And that's kind of what I was saying to McCurdy is it's like, or like our buddy that was like, I don't know what you mean. Lupita's, I think she's pretty. I was like, dude, notice how you didn't say she's hot as hell. Cause that's the whole thing. Like I've talked about being on dates with BPD chicks. Like they're crazy hot. Why is it that crazy hot chicks have BPD and they should be avoided? Because they're like the sirens. The sirens, they sing a pretty song. They're sexy. And so they're like the guy, the Asian dude who jumped off the boat and swam to them. You're tempted to be like, all my dreams are about to come true. But then, as the saying goes, something's too good to be true. It probably isn't. And then those same women are monsters. Why? Because they're so hot that they see men as disposable. The sirens literally eat men. Obviously, what is it? What is the obvious meaning there, right? You have Amber Heard. She's so unbelievably hot. It's shocking how hot she is as a human being. But then the counterpart to that is that she's psychotic. Why? Because she doesn't live in reality, because her whole life people have been lying to her to the point where she is basically psychotic. She is borderline personality disorder. She doesn't live in reality. And you are just as disposable. Johnny Depp is disposable. Johnny fucking Depp is disposable. So what does that say about you? You're going to get eaten alive, So that's the deep meaning of the face that launched 1,000 ships is not that she's just hot. It's that she's like, she's so hot she can be manipulative. But like Lupita's gonna like be like Elektra from The World Is Not Enough and like have a power over men. No. So again, I don't give a shit that she's black. I give a shit that she's not hot, and not just because I want to jerk off to her, but because the deep meaning of overly hot women and the effect they have on men, and they make men do stupid things. There's deep meaning to that everybody can get behind and understand. We all know that to be true. So that's why it's frustrating. It's not that she's black. It's because, and like Lupita's pretty, but she's not Helen of Troy. Anyway, Helen of Troy, fledgling. I think fledgling. Have we talked before? I do not remember. Helen of Troy was written as the most beautiful white woman in the world. Is that true? Was the W word pulled out? I don't know. But like, I already said, like, even if she was race swapped, she better be hot. And like in the past, they would have a reason for why like the first mate is Indian and like another dude is black, as far as Odysseus's men goes. Like they would have a backstory. Now they just skip over the backstory, and it's just kind of confusing. I would love a backstory. I'd love for him to be like, yeah, when I came from India, this happened or whatever. That would be cool. Instead, it's just confusion. Like imagine kids in the future being like, wait, I thought every country was just like random and diverse. It's just it's such a can of worms. It's such an odd thing, and it does break the immersion, and that's why I don't prefer it. I can just overlook it temporarily to just focus on the story, but like, yeah, it's just not it's not ideal because it's confusing. Like Asian guy, you're like, what is this Asian guy doing here? Like think of the think of the movie 300. Everybody who was a Spartan looked the same, and so there was cohesion there. And then the bad guys were like all different backgrounds because Xerxes' whole army was, it was like the 1,000 nations, So there was diversity in the 1,000 nations, but then that lended to the like homogeneity of the 300, and you needed that for contrast. So even down to like the messenger who gets kicked down the well, like that guy was cool because he stood out. He was like the black guy. Like, yeah, there were black guys in the movie, but it was like he was like the black guy, and he stood in contrast to everybody else. It was like, who is this guy? And like he's the messenger. Like, where does he come from? And I would love to feel that same thing with the Indian guy. Like, who is this guy? But instead, it just kind of awkwardly breaks the immersion. And again, that's why I don't watch new things, because now everything looks like an advertisement. Everything looks like a fucking advertisement now. So where everything's the same. You can't paint a painting today and not use all the colors. Well, what if I just want to use like red and black? I just want to use red and black in my painting. No, you have to use all the colors. Well, then every movie looks the same. So, whatever. I just want Helen of Troy to be hot. That's all I want. The bow that has so much draw strength that only Odysseus can pull it. It pulled like a Nerf bow. They subvert everything. I don't did it though. I don't know. There was like one moment where it really bent awkwardly just in the top portion, but like I think that's going a little far. Fledgling, Nolan decided to go the anti-white route. Super disappointing. Again, we live in Babylon. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I swear, like I said before, it's like, hey, let me make Oppenheimer the way I want to do it, and then the next movie I'll give you diversity. And they're like, okay, deal, But like, I don't know. It's just, it's like, it's such a one note complaint, I've said enough already. If Helen was Anna de Armas, very few folks would complain. I agree. I just think that, like, yeah, she's pretty, but like Sydney Sweeney's got the bod. I think I'm on the Sweeney team in this department. I think Anna de Armas is just too skinny. Ethan Toys, she can launch my ship any day. And again, I shit on her as a Bond girl, but it's because I wanted more. She's the best Bond girl ever. No, she's not. She's a non-existent Bond girl. Give her more. Give us more of her, and then make her Felix Leiter's girlfriend, and it would have been great. That would have been great. Ugh. Fledgling. Funny how the people calling for diversity in Odyssey are perfectly happy that Moana is all Polynesian and Wakanda is all black. I 1,000% agree with that. Is that it generally is the one way. I I shouldn't talk about this, but I recently was playing Scrabble with a young lady, and she was like, she and I got in this not like heated argument, but just an argument where I was talking about the usage of offensive words, and you can imagine one of the words that was discussed, and she was like, "Well, I think that, you and I can't use it, but like if a black person was here, they could use it." I was like, "Wait, you're saying that the rules of Scrabble should be based on race?" Like, and I'm the crazy person, and she's like, "Well, I think black people have been through enough." I was like, "What? which black people?" Oh, slaves? Yeah, they went through a lot, but like people who haven't been slaves, like no. You're falling deeply into the hole of opportunism. Anybody using slavery as an excuse for something is just an opportunist. Like that's quite obvious to anybody with a brain, and like racism has nothing to do with it. So yeah, getting back to Fledgling's point, I get it. Everything is flowing in one direction. It's like they're like right here, race swap. He says race swaps are always one direction. They're always erasing white characters. It's true. That's why I just don't watch anything new, because it's like an emphasis on everything has to be one of everybody. And I honestly think the one of everybody aesthetic is just unattractive. It just reminds me of advertising. It's probably it just showcases the way that I grew up. I'm not a fan of it. And so I watch older properties, and I'm sitting here with, by the way, all these I got there. You can't see them because they're green, but like there's a pile of like 12 games in front of me. And my buddy and I want to rank all the Bond games because that's what we talked about. If that's what you guys want, we can do that. That'd be fun. I largely just consume old stuff, and I'm perfectly happy with that. The problem is there's two sides to this argument. Yes, it always seems to be the one direction where all of Moana is Polynesian and all of Wakanda is black, and then they say, but we never got a chance to do that, or whatever bullshit. And so anything that has like I remember watching a PGA, like a golf advertisement that was like, we need more black people to play golf, and I'm like, how about you just let people do what they want to do? So it's dumb. And it's virtue signaling, and it makes other people feel good. And like, if you were black, you would probably, if you're a black actor, you would push for this too, because that just means more opportunity for you. And that's what I mean. It's just opportunism. It's just opportunism. But at the same time, we live in Babylon. We live in a whether you like it or not, we live in this world now where this matters to people so much that they don't care about historical truth. And so it's like this is why I was like, McCurdy, go ahead and get out of here, because if we're going to talk about this, it's like, I didn't want to talk about it at the beginning, because it's just like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We live in a dumb world now. So, but yeah, ranking all of Nolan would be a lot of fun. I just, please, Lord, send me an editor. I just can't. I want to do more. I want to do more content. I just can't edit all of it because I'm an idiot. Dark Knight is the worst. Or wait, he says Dark Knight Rises is the worst because it makes Bane a bitch. Bane's a bitch? What? Because he's like a simp in the end? I don't know. Bane's pretty awesome. Reed G, The Prestige would be tough to beat for Nolan films, although Dark Knight is probably his best. Yeah, exactly. Prestige is like very high up there. Prestige is so solid. That was like a worn out DVD for me back in the day. Way up there. I mean, Prestige would probably easily beat Inception for me. Inception's like obviously bigger in scope, but Living the Act is just way up there. Blastoise, from what I've seen, Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins, is better than Inception, is better than Dunkirk, is better than Dark Knight Rises, is better than Interstellar. Yeah, that's good. I will always struggle with Batman Begins versus Dark Knight in the same way that I struggle with like Ocarina of Time versus Majora's Mask. Batman Begins just nails fear so well, and just fear leading to the birth of the character himself. And yeah, the Joker's great. Of course, the Joker's awesome. But chaos versus fear. Fear is at the heart of Batman's character. So it's just, and then even down to I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Is the best moment in the whole Dark Knight trilogy is that. And then, Liam Neeson rolling over and not freaking out, but just immediately finding peace. The end is nigh. Like that's unbeatable. So it's a tough one. But Inception, I would just put Dunkirk at the very bottom. I hate that. Fuck Dunkirk. Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises both have crappy third acts. You could argue that Batman Begins is like the typical superhero third act, but like I said, the bad guy death is. I mean, if your complaint is what about people taking showers? I don't know, but versus Dark Knight's third act. That's what I mean. It's a near impossible decision to be made. It's Ocarina of Time versus Majora's Mask, but I don't know. I just always go back to the themes. Fear just being nailed so well. He says Tenet and this looks like the worst. If I haven't seen a movie, it's because I have it in my head that someday we're gonna rank it, and so I want it to be fresh, which is dumb. I should just go watch Tenet like right now. I should just go watch it. Anyway, Tenet looks really dumb, or looked really dumb. This looked like a scary movie parody. I don't know. That's why I don't watch trailers. Trailers are a waste of time. Mr. Sigma says, right now I'm just going through underrated 90s thrillers. It's great. Send me recommendations, dude. Send me recommendations. Are you watching The Game? That was the first one that popped in my head, was The Game. That's all the comments, though. Yeah, now that McCurdy's not here, I mean, that's everything in a nutshell with the woke crap is like, race swaps are to be, as I'm always saying, they're be judged on an individual basis. They should be earned. I would like if they were earned. But if I get the sense that it's like, they chose the race first and then chose people, I can't stand that. But I don't, like, even down to the rapper that was in this. If nobody told me, like, I didn't even know that Harry Styles was in Dunkirk. I didn't even know who Harry Styles was. And everybody's like, I can't believe this pop star is in this movie. I'm like, I didn't even know that. Who cares? How did he do in the movie? Just like Heath Ledger. How did he do in the movie? Oh, he was the greatest thing ever? Then shut the fuck up. So, the rapper dude doing his thing, I was like, fine. If nobody told me who he was, I wouldn't know anyway. I don't care. That's not a big deal. Zendaya, I could have used more. Give me more Athena. Athena's awesome. Give me more Athena. She didn't really have a chance to shine. Tom Holland was great. Matt Damon was fine. Like, there's no like Matt Damon is a movie star. He's not a character actor. Even in Oppenheimer, he's like, yeah, he's good. He's just Matt Damon though. It's like not my first choice, but like I like him. The Punisher dude, he's pretty much always good. He's just always a crazy dude, but he's good. It's like, is Robert Pattinson the standout? Is he the standout? Who else? I don't know. Who else stood out in this movie? But again, I go back to what I said about Dune. It's like, I should have loved Dune. I should have walked out of Dune and been like, they're so good, but I still like the 1990s Sci-Fi Channel original Dune miniseries more than the movies they made recently. That shouldn't be the case, but it is. And why is that? Because there's less feeling behind them. There was less feeling behind this. So, like I said, race swaps should be earned. Ideally, they'd be earned. If I get the sense that they chose the race first, like the fat black guy, Nolan's like, I have to have him in my movie. I have to have him in my. I'm like, no, you're just checking a box. There's no way that this guy is so good that you needed him in there. Or like McCurdy said something about Elliot Page, she was in previous movies with him, so it makes sense. I was like, that no. Do you know how many male actors have been in movies with Nolan? You're saying that Elliot Page was the best for this role? No, he's clearly checking a box because he wants more gold statues. So, but again, I'd rather talk about the story. Let's talk about another one of those race swaps that everybody freaked out about was 007 is going to be a black woman. 007 is going to be a black woman. And I'm like, hang on, let's wait till we see the movie. Let's see what happens, people. Let's not freak out first because that's what they want you to do. And then it turned out that was one of the best parts of No Time to Die. And it was like James Bond is still Daniel Craig, but then the new 007 is a black woman, but she's insecure about it. That ended up being good. That was good, So again, everybody jumps the gun. It's like, don't jump the gun because then you play into their hand because they only do this for money and marketing anyway. So, yeah. So, people will follow the fashion today for money and fame and pretending that it makes them a good person or that they're open-minded or whatever. But all in all, and like Elliot Page was like, my career is over, so I need to do something. Like clearly she knew her career was over. So it's just like, that's Oscar bait. You could cut that, like you could seriously fan edit that out of the movie and it like nobody would notice. But yeah, that's it. What it comes down to is the nutshell is race swaps are typically annoying, but what are you gonna do? Tranny being this movie is gay as hell, but what are you gonna do? It happened. So where does that leave us? Was the story good or not? And overall, it's kind of a meh movie. So, Mr. Sigma, not meh. It's not like meh. It's like, as far as Nolan goes, it's like, I wish I liked it more, but it's like there's other Odyssey movies that I like more. So as far as his movies go, it's pretty low on the list. As I said earlier, I would it's, just looking at his movies, I'm like, it's probably like just above Dunkirk because it's like, who cares? Just underwhelming. But I think he did the same thing he did with Dunkirk, where he was like, I can't wait to tell this story. It's amazing. Oh, wait, I can't make it as exciting as Batman. What do? Put it in the editing blender to make it seem smarter than it is. Then people will think really smart. People watch Dunkirk, think smart. No, Dunkirk dumb, you dumb. So, did the same thing here. I don't like it. I like Nolan at his best. I don't like him at his worst. This is at his not worst, but close to it. So before I repeat myself over and over and over, I'm by myself and there are no more comments. So I'm going to toast to Homer. I'm going to toast to Homer. I hope in the great beyond you, I don't know. I hope you like that people are saying your name again. Occasionally we need a reminder. But yes, final thing would be Greece. Greece, if you feel so compelled. I don't know if you competed in the World Cup, but obviously you lost if you did. You could raise money and go make your own. If you're pissed off about this, I saw a comment about like Nolan skipping going to Greece for his press tour because he knew people would hate him. I don't know if that's true, but like, Greece, if you're that pissed off, do something about it, yo. Do something about it. Go to team up with Bollywood and go make the Odyssey with all Indian people. Do that, because that would be fun and interesting. But to get to circle to Nolan style, circle back to the beginning. The first shot bookending with the last shot. This movie 100% does not outcompete Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That will always be, at least for now and possibly forever, the greatest retelling of the Odyssey ever is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? If you haven't seen it, go watch it. You'll probably agree with me. But to Homer, cheers to myself and Homer's ghost. I'm going to sacrifice a goat, put the blood on the thing, wait for Homer to come up. Okay, and then he takes a taste, and then okay, hey, yeah, Homer, good poem, bro. Good poem. Cheers to you, bro. Good night, everybody.